Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Right now, here it is 11:05 a.m. here in Korea. I'm Legal Vices, and welcome to my channel. Got up to a little bit of a late start today, but that's one of those things that happens when it's a Saturday morning after a Friday night. Hope you're all having a good evening. I don't know what time you'll all be watching this, but hey, we have our first viewer of the day. Welcome aboard. All righty. It's what we're going to do is continue what we've been doing. Got to get the stash in order here. Here we go. Going to start today. A couple of days ago, we reviewed the testimony from Johnny Depp's lawyers for their opening statements. And today we'll go and look at Amber Heard's lawyers' opening statements, see how she's been doing, see how they've been doing, see if the lawyers have changed their style, see if Amber Heard has changed her style since the beginning of the arguments, the beginning of the proceedings, and look and see whether what the lawyers said they would prove, they've proved, and just kind of see how they're doing. Go through this and see what's happening. It's 11 a.m., so I can have my first cigar of the day. This is an Oliva Serie V Lancero, and it's already gone out because I talk too much, but I guess that's what you're supposed to do on YouTube, isn't it? Talk a lot. If anybody else is out there smoking something, drinking something, let me know. We can do this together. My Oliva Serie V Lancero. And for my morning beverage, I whipped up a pot of margaritas. So we'll be doing margaritas with a lot of ice in them now. Yeah. So it's a margarita morning. That seems like a good brunch food as opposed to just a glass of whiskey. All right. Let's jump into this here. We're going to start off with Amber Heard's lawyers' opening statements. And let's talk about it and judge how they're doing so far.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ben Rottenborn, and together
what
with
a name! I just love that name.
I represent Amber Heard.
If there was ever a name for a scummy lawyer,
Elaine will get up here.
Rottenborn is it.
To Amber, and she'll address the allegations that you just heard in Mr. Chu and Ms. Vasquez's opening statement. And she'll explain to you why all those inflammatory things are things that are designed to mislead you from the truth. She'll explain.
Oh, yeah, because it's Johnny Depp that wants to mislead you from the truth.
And that's something that we're going to focus on in this trial, not attempts to distract you. We're going to focus on the evidence, not what we wish the evidence showed, not some crazy conspiracy theories, but what the evidence and the facts actually show.
Ooh, to me, that sort of seems to be exactly what they're doing. That seems to be exactly what they're doing. They're the ones that are confusing this, conflating this. They're the ones that are off in fantasy land. They're the ones that are trying to mislead us, distract us, and use all this extraneous information to replace the evidence, or in her case, the lack of evidence.
And as you assess the evidence in this trial, I would ask that you keep one question in mind above all else, which is this: why are you here? What are you being asked to decide?
I wonder if Amber has asked herself that yet. Why am I here?
Question.
Why did I do this?
And that question is, were the words that Amber used in the December 18, 2018 opinion piece that was published in the Washington Post protected free speech under the First Amendment or not? That is the question, and that's what you're being asked to decide. At the end of the trial, the judge will explain to you what the law is on defamation and what Mr. Depp's burden is to prove in order to establish defamation. And she'll tell you a lot of things about the law, but among them, she will tell you that Mr. Depp will have to prove that the words Ms. Heard used were about him and that they were false. And if he can't do that, and if he can't meet the other elements of the claim, then he loses that claim. And he can't do that.
Meant to hit pause and bumped it here. Now, is there anybody out there that thinks that article she wrote about being a survivor of DV and SA was not about Johnny Depp. Is there anybody that read that article that goes, gosh, I wonder who she's talking about. I wonder who that could be. That's why do I have to get my blood pressure up so early in the morning? Why did I do this?
Amber Heard.
All right, let's get back to where we were.
About him and that they were false. If he can't do that, and if he can't meet the other elements of the claim, then he loses that claim. And he can't do that. He can't come close to doing that. And for that reason, you're going to hear in this trial, Mr. Depp's team is going to make it about trying to distract you from that very simple question.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Depp's team is going to try to turn this case into a soap opera. Why? I'm not really sure, because the evidence isn't pretty for Mr. Depp. It's not. You're going to see who the real Johnny Depp is.
Okay. Let me know here in the comments. What are your feelings on that? Which of these two was trying to turn this into a show trial? Which of these two was trying to turn this into a melodrama? Johnny Depp's been Johnny Depp from the beginning. He's like, yeah, I do a lot of drugs. I do a lot of weed. I do a lot of booze. I assault cabinets occasionally. That's just who he has been. Very undramatic, I thought. I think he's been incredibly undramatic in his testimony, other than just recounting all of this stuff that happened to him, not being emotional, not getting to. Amber's the one that's acting melodramatic. And funnily enough, just this morning while I was hanging around, I'm gonna have to go back and watch this, and we may have to do a little stream of this. It was her performance in Zombieland is one of these scenes where she was talking about her boyfriend, and she was acting remarkably the same way she was acting on the stand, like the same facial expressions, the same things when she was trying to be sad. But let me know what you think. Who is this lawyer describing at this point in the game?
Behind the red carpets, behind the fame, behind the money, behind the pirate costumes, you're going to see who that man really is.
Behind the pirate costumes.
Amber is going to tell you about it. You're going to hear who he really is from other witnesses. And you're going to hear who he really is in his own words, in the vile, graphic, terrible messages that he wrote about Amber and ways he used to describe Amber and what he wanted to do to Amber from the earliest days that they were dating through their marriage and after their marriage. You're going to hear about that. But this case isn't about that. This case isn't about a day-to-day chronicle of their marriage. It's not about who is the better spouse.
Okay, it's not about a day-to-day chronicle of their marriage. That's exactly what she's done on direct examination so far. She started with day one, meeting them on the set. She's walked through it every day, every week, every violent episode. She's the one that's turning this into a day-to-day melodrama. Hey, Brandon, what's up? Welcome. God, I thought that said my mom first. I'm like, wow, that was that came out of the gate pretty aggressive. Okay, welcome, Brandon. What he's saying that Johnny Depp is going to do as a way to confiscate the issue and to hide things is exactly what they've done with Amber so far, I think. Missed the play button. All righty, let me know what you guys think.
It's not about who you like more. It's not about which party can sling more mud. But you're going to hear a lot of that in this trial.
Who's been slinging mud in this trial?
Because that's what Mr. Depp wants to turn this case into. He wants to turn this case into a 6-week-long public spectacle of the most intimate aspects of their relationship and their marriage. And you know what? I'm sorry for that. I'm sorry. I'm sorry that we're going to have to do that. I'm sorry that you're going to have to live all of it. And I'm sorry that Amber's going to have to relive that. But that's the case that Johnny Depp chose to bring.
Looks sad.
And we're not going to stand idly by and let him sling mud at our client and make inflammatory and false statements like you just heard in opening and not let those go unresponded to. But ultimately,
Wow.
What this
goes
case
around
is
comes
about
around.
is about the First Amendment, about that December 18th, 2018 op-ed piece, and whether Ms. Heard's freedom of speech and the First Amendment give her the right to say the words that she said. That right.
He actually does
that
have a
freedom.
point here, but you'll notice there hasn't been a lot of talk and there hasn't been a lot of discussion about the article yet. There hasn't been a lot of discussion about what's in the article and whether she has the right to say it. There's a lot still to come in the last couple of weeks of this trial.
Speech is what Amber Heard is asking you to uphold and protect in this lawsuit. And that's a very simple question. The question you could decide this afternoon. And it does not require you to stand and serve as the umpire of two movie stars' imperfect marriage. It doesn't.
Well, one movie star
So we're going to focus
and
on
Amber.
those words. We're going to look at those words. And as we look at those words, I'd ask you to keep this in mind. Keep in mind what you just saw on the screen from Mr. Chu when he put up those words. Keep in mind what you didn't see. You didn't see the rest of the opinion piece. And what we'd ask is that as you look at those words, that you look at them in the context of the piece in which they were written.
I disagree with that. He's saying, hey, Miss U2, welcome. I disagree with what he's saying. He's saying the rest of the article is not important. Were those sentences factual? Were the three things, the title and the two sentences in there about being the face of domestic abuse, being a survivor of the essay, were those statements true? Don't try to conflate it with what's surrounding it, with the true stuff that's in the article.
Now, whether you look at them individually or in the context of the piece,
Individually.
doesn't really matter because the words are true.
You're right.
But context matters. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask Heather to put up the article, put up the opinion piece, and I'm going to read that to you. And we're going to look at those words in the context of what this piece was about. Because Mr. Depp's team wants to make you think that this opinion piece was designed to destroy Johnny Depp. That this was designed to maliciously talk about him and their life together. And it wasn't. So let's take a moment to look at this. And I'm going to read it to you, and I'd ask that you follow along.
All right.
If you can.
Let's follow along,
Either
go
way,
through this, and give me your
let's take
comments
a look at what the piece
on
as a whole says.
the accuracy of this.
This is the piece that Amber wrote. I was exposed to abuse at a very young age. I knew certain things early on without ever having to be told.
Mm-hmm.
I knew that men have the power, physically, socially, and financially, and that a lot of institutions support that arrangement. I knew this long before I had the words to articulate it, and I bet you learned it young too. Like many women, I had been harassed and sexually assaulted by the time I was of college age, but I kept quiet.
Mm-hmm.
I did not expect filing complaints to bring justice, and I didn't see myself as a victim. Then, 2 years ago, I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out. Friends and advisors told me I would never.
Well, she's
again
about to
write
feel the
this
full
I
wrath.
would be blacklisted. A
So
movie
we've
I was
got
attached to recast
3
my
million
life.
plus signatures on
I
the
had just
petition
got
to
a
get her
TV
out of
campaign as the
Aquaman.
face of a global fashion brand, and the company dropped me. Questions arose as to whether I would be able to keep my role of Mira in the movies Justice League and Aquaman. I had the rare vantage point of seeing, in real time, how institutions protect men accused of abuse. Imagine a
talking
powerful
about? I
man as
wonder.
a ship, like the Titanic. That ship is a huge enterprise. When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes. Not because they believe in or even care about the ship,
He said whole.
but because their own fates depend on the enterprise.
Sorry.
In recent years, the Me Too movement has taught us about how power like this works, not just in Hollywood, but in all kinds of institutions.
Yeah, okay. I think it's telling. She's interesting. She said she knew from a young age that men have the power, that men are the violent ones. But then she also testifies that her father taught her to take the pain when she's thrown off the horses while she's they're trying to be broken. And at some point, she's decided to try to take this back, and she needs to get out there. I'm really happy. I don't have the current count, but like I was just saying, I hear that the petition to get her booted out of Aquaman is well over 3 million signatures right now. So they said they've cut her part down to 10 minutes. Let's hope they cut it to 0. We've got the Chaucerian fraud. Were they true or were they said of malice, which is a difficult standard to reach without a confession, but her testimony is so outlandish, without evidential support, that you could show she's lying? Sure. Sandy says H is the drama queen projecting her actions onto JD. Totally. Listen, everything the lawyer is saying that Johnny Depp will do during his testimony is what he's done and she's done and their lawyers have done for her. H uses vulgarities and drugs and alcohol, yet JD is attacked with these issues. Well, Johnny has some pretty foul language too. They're both into the language, but it's very telling, I think, that he breaks things around him. He breaks his own shit. He breaks things around them, punches the walls, throws things at walls near her, but not at her. Whereas she comes straight for him every time. This lawyer is good. As someone who's hired a few and only done a one-nighter, he just has a shit case. Yeah, I don't think that they're the best team available out there. I just think they're probably the best one that would take her case. I find it hard to dislike Rottenborn as he's doing his job. He's just got a really unfortunate name, hard to pin down, says. He just got a really, really unfortunate name. If there was ever a bad name for a lawyer, Rottenborn is it. He seems to be a pretty mild-mannered, straightforward guy. He's got this Lady Elaine Fairchild, evil, wicked witch of the West, as his co-counsel. He's got a client, with a shit case that Brandon was saying. And the petition seems to be over 4 million now. Thank you, Burst of Beauty. Good. I hope he gets a good paying job and she doesn't work. And somebody mentioned in one of my comments the other day that really it's not gonna hurt him if he loses this case. I think that comment's absolutely correct. I don't even feel like he really wants the 50 million. I think he just wants, in a controlled environment, to get his side of the story out. She's been throwing shit into the media for a couple of years, making a trial by media. He said, let's sit down in a room, let's look at the evidence, let's get it out open in a controlled environment where I'm not going to look like a scumbag who's leaking stuff to the press trying to defend myself. We'll let the lawyers present evidence of what happened. So I think this is more just to expose her and get the stuff out in there and keep on going. So hopefully he'll get rehabilitated through this. Chaucerian Fry says, remember when people knew the difference between words and violence? I miss those days, yes. Well, let's continue here with the opening statement. What have I done with it? Okay, no. Okay. Boom, here we go.
Places of worship, or simply in particular communities. In every walk of life, women are confronting these men who are buoyed by social, economic, and cultural power. And these institutions are beginning to change. We are in a transformative political moment. The president of our country has been accused by more than a dozen women of sexual misconduct, including assault and harassment. Outrage over his statements and behavior has energized a female-led opposition. Me Too started a conversation.
Sandy says Age's father said to be abusive heroin user. Yeah, his testimony, he did drugs together with Johnny.
Our lives. And last month, more women were elected to Congress than ever in our history, with a mandate to take women's issues seriously. Women's rage and determination to end sexual violence are turning into a political force.
And this is the problem. We have to take violence to women issues seriously. But this denigrates. For starters, this kind of shit she's pulling makes a joke and a mockery out of it and causes us to disbelieve the people that are actually in these situations. I said that time and again.
Effective pieces of legislation enacted to fight domestic violence and sexual assault. It creates support systems for people who report abuse and provides funding for rape crisis centers, legal assistance programs, and other critical services. It improves responses by law enforcement, and it prohibits discrimination against LGBTQ survivors. Funding
Well, remember the
expired in
ACLU
September and has only
accountant
been
guy was
temporarily
talking about,
rescinded.
part of the testimony was that
We should continue
they
to fight
helped
sexual
draft this
assault on college campuses
to coincide with the
while
release of Aquaman.
simultaneously insisting on fair processes for adjudicating complaints. Last month, Education Secretary Betsy DeVos proposed changes to Title IX rules governing the treatment of sexual harassment and assault in schools. While some changes would make the process for handling complaints more fair, others would weaken protections for sexual assault survivors. For example, the new rules would require schools to investigate.
This is
only
an interesting
complaints,
comment for here from
and
Brandon.
then only when they are made to designated officials.
Let's pause that for a second. In civil litigation, you want the guy to talk to the prosecutor. You get no recourse. You don't really need the same team to go to court. Different skill set. I mean, there's very different skill sets between criminal and civil trials. But the thing, like with these guys, with their team, is I don't think they have a lot of civil litigation experience. Civil attorneys try their damnedest to settle things out of court. Over 90% of cases are settled before they go to court. None of these guys want to go to court because it's a huge time and money drain. A lot of them work on the contingency fees where they get a third of the recovery or more. And the longer this drags out, the longer it takes them to get their fees. If they can just have a massive claim, settle it, get their third, move on to the next case, settle it, get their third, they crank in the money. Trials are a huge waste of time for a lot of civil lawyers.
Women on campuses already have trouble coming forward about sexual violence. Why would we allow institutions to scale back supports? I write this as a woman who had to change my phone number weekly because I was getting death threats. For months, I rarely left my apartment. And when I did, I was pursued by camera drones and photographers on foot.
Welcome to being a celebrity. If you don't like that shit, don't sign up for
outlets that posted pictures of me spun them in a negative light.
That's what tabloids
I felt as
do.
though I was on trial in the court of public opinion.
Oh, you are now.
My life and livelihood depended on myriad judgments far beyond my control.
Oh, it does now. Welcome to that world. You thought it was bad before, Amber. It's going to get bad now. Bertha Beauty here says, all the shit that occurred with our relationship is out in the open now. Any sane people can clearly see H lies. JD admits his flaws. Recordings back him, not her. I mean, that's another good thing. I mean, he has admitted to himself he's a flawed person. He has admitted in the trial he's a flawed person. I mean, the interesting thing is, if you listen to her testimony, she hasn't done anything wrong. Everything has been Johnny's fault. Ass kickings, if they occurred, just fell out of the sky. She hasn't really admitted to having any flaws whatsoever. It's all been him. And Sandy's H did not write the article. It went through the legal and editorial staff several times at ACLU. True, but she insists she wrote most of it. And she had to have written it for, if the ACLU wrote the article, then this is a non-starter from the beginning because she had to have said those words. Her name is on the byline. She takes the credit for it. Yeah. Back when social sciences were worth something, they studied DV and showed the women and men participate at similar rates. And a lot of times it's mutual. The patriarchy myth is to blame. My personal opinion, yeah, it's a myth, but that's a total discussion for another day. And Brandon says, my brother is a rooster and works for a corporate. If you don't agree to terms with him, he buries you in court. Well, that's another thing that the lawyers, corporate lawyers, high-priced lawyers with super big companies versus little individuals will do, is they will sue you in states, in multiple states. They'll throw all kinds of court orders and things, discovery motions, and just pile it on until you bankrupt yourself and can't survive anymore.
More support. We are electing representatives who know how deeply we care about these issues. We can work together to demand changes to laws and rules and social norms and to right the imbalances that have shaped our lives.
He sounds a little bit like a funeral director. Dang, missed a wax on this little part of my stash.
I know that was a lot. But that is the
Margaritas aren't good
in
for
this case.
Dr. Robotnik stashes
Of
either.
those words that Amber wrote, are those protected by the First Amendment?
See, there he's admitted she wrote those
The answer is
words.
very clearly yes. So let's talk about that article for a minute.
Let's
First of
talk
all,
about it.
The article doesn't mention Depp by name. It never once contains his name in that article.
God, I hate that
It
argument.
is not about Amber's relationship with Mr. Depp.
Bullshit.
There are no details of any abuse in that article. The article is about proposed
You don't need the
legislation
details. You said you were a victim of
strengthening
abuse.
of government laws and policies designed to protect abuse victims and people who report abuse. That's
I know
what
this is like the
article is
fifth
about.
time I've said that.
And it was
But does
written in the midst of
anybody
a
think
social
that article
movement
was not about
in
her
which the
relationship with
American
Johnny
Civil
Depp?
Liberties Union,
You don't
the
have to name
ACLU,
him if you know it.
asked Amber to use her platform to speak on these important issues. And that's what she did. To do so, she drew on her experiences as someone who had reported domestic abuse.
By who? We all know who the fuck
And
she
there's
reported
no
domestic abuse
question,
against.
There is no dispute that she did, in fact, report domestic abuse in 20.
Okay, that's an interesting thing we've come to see. So there is no question she reported the abuse, the allegations back then. Yes, she did it. If you'll remember, she did it. She reported it, got a protective order in front of the media with a paparazzi waiting outside of the courtroom in the ACLU to watch her walk into the courtroom, get this order, come back out, all the while her husband was on the other side of the planet in England, unable to defend himself, unable to put any arguments in, unable to contest the application for the order. It was timed perfectly so that she could do it in front of cameras when he was out of the country. Yeah, so she did report it, but the circumstances are pretty sus.
2016. Depp's side admits that. She talked about her negative personal experiences and her reactions and opinions after being someone in Hollywood who reported abuse and the consequences that flowed from that. She talked about what she experienced in the days and months following reporting
Dang,
abuse.
this is bothering me.
That's what the article is about. The article isn't about Johnny Depp. The article is about the social change for which she is advocating.
Bullshit.
The First Amendment.
Ah.
So I hope you remember, as this case goes on, that you
Chaucerian fraud says typical woman move, protective order while he was away. Well, it's not necessarily it's not necessarily a woman move. It's a weak person who doesn't want their claims
if
to
it
be
had been
contested.
Amber's intention to use this article to detail the abuse that she suffered and that you'll hear about over the course of this trial, believe me, the article would have looked very, very different.
That's not the point of this case. The point is not whether she used this article to detail and diarize the abuse she suffered. It's whether the statement that she was the victim of the SADV situations, if she lived through it 2 years ago, those statements are what's at issue, not the details, just whether those statements are true or false.
She could fill a book with those details. She probably would have started out by calling out Mr. Depp by name.
No, she wouldn't. No, she wouldn't. If she was able to substantiate these allegations, if she was able to prove these allegations, if she had hard evidence that he committed DV and SA, if she could prove this in court, she would have named the fuck out of him in those articles. The reason he's not named in there is this was her defense. She was hoping that she could go back when she's called on and go, "Oh, I didn't mention him by name. I wasn't talking about him." That's the reason he wasn't named, is because she probably knew she had no evidence to support this. She was full of shit, and this was her way of trying to protect herself by not mentioning any names. If she could prove this, don't you think she would say, Depp did this, Depp did this, Depp did this, here's the... Yeah, the fact she didn't name him calls into question her integrity and the strength of her arguments.
Washington Post And she would have described in great detail the man who has described himself.
Brandon asks how hard does the evidence
monster.
need to be?
That's
Hard
what she
enough
would
to
have done.
convince a jury that it's more
The
likely
monster.
than not that
She would have
it
told
was
you
true.
about the monster. But she didn't. That wasn't the point of this article. And she was careful to avoid that, even having her lawyer review the article to make sure that it was okay. And she relied on that.
Why?
advice.
Why did her
She
lawyer
made
review
on
the
that
article
during
to
trial.
make sure there was nothing that could come back to her?
But because Johnny
She was
Depp
wrong.
brought this case and asked for it, all of that is going to come out. Just know that Amber Heard never wanted to unearth for the public who the real Johnny Depp is.
Oh, bullshit.
But that's going to
Then
come
why
out over the
why
course
did
of
she
this
go to
trial.
court with cameras
I'd like you to also take
and her
into
lawyers
consideration who is
while he's on the other side of the planet?
You don't see the Washington Post sitting here as a defendant in this courtroom. Depp didn't sue the Washington Post. He had no interest in doing that. He only sued Amber. He could have sued the Washington Post. They published the article.
It doesn't matter. Who he chooses to sue is his own goddamn business. It doesn't matter who he sued. He could have sued anybody. He could have sued the newspaper stand that distributed the newspapers. He could have sued. That's the thing about the law. You can sue anybody for any reason. It's whether you can prove your claims. He doesn't have to sue the Washington Post.
But he didn't. And he chose to bring Amber to court here in Virginia, where she has no ties, has never lived, he's never lived, where they never spent any time, because he wanted to make her life hard. He wanted to ruin her life.
Okay, why did he file the case in Virginia? Because that's where the op-ed was published. That's where the Washington Post has their headquarters. That's a perfectly valid jurisdiction. Wanted to make life difficult for her. It's just as difficult for him. Again, another spurious argument.
To destroy her. That's what he did.
Who destroyed who? Now payback's a
And
bitch.
I wish I could say that that's surprising. It's certainly disturbing, but it's not surprising because the evidence will show that for years, all Mr. Depp has wanted to do is humiliate Amber, to haunt her, to wreck her career. That's what the evidence will show in his words. That's what he wanted. But he made a mistake bringing this case in Virginia because you're the people who are going to hear this case.
Okay, well, wow, I'm rambling way too much here, but so we got some ground to cover here. But I'll answer this before we dive in. Brandon says, "Okay, I don't want to dominate your chat. We know she's lying. He has to cover. How would you argue against it when she insists on going to trial? This is his case. He can drop the case. He can say it's not worth it. He can say, just kidding. I didn't really want to do this. He wants to go to trial. Again, I think that's completely why he wants to go to trial. So he can get his side of the story out in a way that doesn't make him look like he's out for revenge or out for, out to undercut her in the court of public opinion. This is the court of law, which just happens to spill remarkably over into the court of public opinion in this case. He wanted this to get his evidence out. He filed the lawsuit. He's going through with the lawsuit. Let's crank out some more of this opening statement. We've still got Lady Elaine Fairchild's testimony to go through. Opening statement to go through.
Fair jury who respects the First Amendment. And with that, even though we've looked at the article as a whole, I'd like to spend a few minutes looking at the individual statements that were made, just as Depp's side showed you, because I think it's important to do that as well. Can we pull up slide 1, please?
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to pay our last respects to Amber Heard. If you'll all open your hymnals to Abide With Me 'Tis Eventide, we'll begin our ceremonies with a remembrance.
Then 2 years
dearly
ago,
departed.
I became a public figure representing domestic abuse, and I felt the full force of our culture's wrath for women who speak out.
If I was rotten
There's
ass,
absolutely
I wouldn't
nothing
take the
false
case.
about that statement. First of all, the evidence will show that Amber did suffer domestic abuse at the hands of Johnny Depp.
Wow.
And it took
So the no metadata, doctored,
physical,
edited
sure,
makeup
but
pictures
also
seem to
emotional,
suggest.
verbal, psychological abuse. It's all domestic abuse that she suffered.
Okay, now this actually is a very good point, and the one that I get hung up on, where I think Johnny Depp is going to have his most difficult time overcoming. From what I understand, not being a Virginia lawyer, just from what I've heard and read places, the Virginia statute on DV does not define what DV is. It's not necessarily limited to physical. DV could include verbal, oral, emotional situations. It'll be interesting to see how the judge instructs on that, to see if the judge gives any indication what should be considered as DV under Virginia law. Because if the jury decides that DV includes emotional or oral V or A, then Johnny Depp would lose the case, I believe. But in my head, just as an average Joe Schmo, when I hear the term DV, I think physical. It'll be interesting to see what the jury thinks about that.
At his hands.
And again,
So
for the people that have joined late, we're just reviewing the opening statements for the lawyers to see if they've met their burden, see if they've proved the points, and to see how the case has changed since then. And I never tell people to subscribe and like and hit the button and all those other YouTube things because I forget. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. I would love you forever.
On that incident in May.
Like this if you want. It's kind of fun.
Tell you more about.
Continue.
That absolutely were given to her, and she took out a domestic violence restraining order that she obtained from the court in California to protect herself.
While her husband was across the planet,
she was, of course, a public figure. She was a movie star.
Present.
She didn't want the paparazzi, the press photos. She got those.
Then why were they fucking invited to the courthouse?
Who wants to be photographed with a bruised face walking out of court? She didn't want that, and the evidence will show that.
The evidence will show she didn't have a bruise on her face.
She was a public figure. And 2 years before she wrote this article, she was a public figure representing domestic abuse.
Thank you, Chesarian Fraud. You're a mensch.
True. And try as he might to take it away, Amber's freedom of speech gives her the right to say that. Can we pull up slide 2, please? This is the second step.
Margarita report. We're halfway through.
I had the rare vantage point of seeing in real time how institutions protect men accused of abuse. Once again, that statement is 100% true. Amber did accuse Johnny of abuse.
Mm-hmm.
And she saw how he was protected at the same time that her career.
How was Johnny Depp protected? He lost everything.
Career, as the evidence will see. But she accused him of abuse. That's
make a pint of margaritas.
You don't need to relive
Nessie, for that comment.
Detail of their marriage. You don't need to decide what happened on
everything in
day of their marriage to determine that the First Amendment protects that statement because it is true. He wants you to forget.
Hey, Max, welcome.
Take the bait. Let's pull up the third statement, please.
Yeah, I figured it was a little bit like pre-lunch whiskey sort of seems
was in the headline,
but a nice little margarita is quite fine.
Of the article. I spoke up against sexual violence and faced our culture's wrath. That has to change. The undisputed evidence in this case will be that Amber did not write these words.
Mega country!
Did not approve these words.
Mega country.
Work. She wrote the article. She didn't write this headline. And for that reason alone, it's not defamatory. But here's the thing.
Okay, that's drawing you. They're saying that the headline that said "I survived this." She says she didn't write the headline, but she wrote the byline, and the headline says "I." She took responsibility for the headline.
Minimize that.
And they haven't introduced any evidence that she didn't write the headline.
But it's not.
maybe they'll do that later.
You
But
will
that
hear
hasn't been
in the
entered
most
into evidence yet.
graphic and horrifying terms about the violence that she suffered. You'll hear that straight from her.
Talks of
Get on
Bacon,
the
this
stage,
is
she'll
an
tell you that.
Oliva Series
It happened.
V
And by taking
Lancero.
out that domestic violence
Wonderfully
restraining order, by obtaining that
mid-level,
report,
nice
she did speak out against
cigar.
it and all the other abuse that she suffered. And she said, enough is enough. I need to protect myself. She didn't want
And
to
it's
do
out.
that. She didn't want to be forced to get that restraining order, but she did.
Oh, bullshit,
She
Amber.
spoke out against the abuse by doing that. And the evidence will show that she did face her culture's wrath, perhaps illustrated no more clearly by the fact that she's here today facing this lawsuit brought by an obsessed ex-husband hell-bent on revenge.
An obsessed
That's why
husband.
she's here. That's why she's facing our culture's wrath. And as you consider whether these statements are true, I'd ask you to keep this in mind as well. The evidence will show that in May of 2016, when she obtained the restraining order, Mr. Depp never denied the allegations. And in fact, he signed a statement that Amber hadn't made any false statements for financial gain. He signed a statement saying she hadn't made any false statements. And you'll see that in evidence.
So she signed a false statement saying she hadn't made any false statements.
Good
Good job.
Later, as his career was in free fall and her career was taking off, that he pounced, that he chose to bring this lawsuit.
He pounced? Like she pounced when he was in England and filed for the restraining order?
And one thing
Pounced.
that you'll be instructed at the end of the trial, but that Mr. Depp's side will try to distract you from, is that any damages that he suffered and any defamation has to flow from that 2018 opinion piece. This case isn't about the statements made in 2016, even though they're true. This case is about the December 2018 opinion piece. That's what the case is about. And I have
Talks
to
of Bacon,
say,
good cigar call.
it's pretty ironic. It's pretty ironic that a piece
Hacked up a fur
that
ball
briefly discussed Amber
from that
moving
sweet
on
Amber Heard
from Johnny
kitty.
Depp, that briefly discussed her life experiences after Johnny Depp.
I missed a part
is
with my
the
wax
very
this morning. It's just like dangling
vehicle
down, and
that he
the
uses
liquid
to try
from the
to
margarita
keep
isn't
her
helping it.
from
Please forgive my
to try to keep her from
appearance this
living that
morning.
life, rather than give her her life back.
Pinocchio
rather than
chicken
take
shit.
personal
Nice, Nezzy.
responsibility for his own actions. It's ironic that he uses that piece to do that. But like I said, it's not surprising because you will see clear and graphic evidence of his intentions.
Okay, who's seen clear and graphic evidence of his intentions thus
Now, in
far?
5 or 6 weeks,
I haven't seen clear and graphic evidence of Johnny Depp's intentions this far. I've seen old, alleged bruise pictures without any metadata to support it. I've seen over contrasted, over highlighted potential filler pictures that, again, have no metadata and nothing to support it. I haven't seen any horribly graphic images of what Johnny Depp is alleged to have done.
Elaine or I will get up here at closing argument and we'll remind you. We'll remind you
Jarl
what
of
this case
SWAT,
is about.
preach.
We'll remind you that this case is about one piece of paper. Amber's words in this article that wasn't about Depp.
I did enjoy him waxing
about
poetically in
marriage.
text about finding her
Wasn't
corpse
about
in the trunk of a Honda
It
Civic.
was about life.
See, that's the thing. He said it in text, not to her.
It's
Not
about
like, I
the
hope to
freedom
find
of
your
speech.
fucking corpse in it.
It's not
It
about
goes to
the soap
friends.
opera that
People
Depp was
vent
in
and
this
bullshit
case.
to their friends all the
It's
time,
not
man.
about who you
And they
like
should.
better.
Women say to each
It's not
other.
even about whether you agree with
I
them.
overheard my ex-wife and her friends talking
About
about
the
guys
right
and shit like that, and I was like, "Holy crap!" Women talk
Now,
about
before I
this
sit down, I'd like to
way
briefly
more
discuss
vulgarly and way
some
more
of the
intensely
damages
than men
that
do.
Depp alleges in this case, because he can't win the case if he can't show damages. And the evidence will show that he has not suffered 1 cent of damages from this op-ed. Not one. Now, make no mistake, Johnny Depp's reputation is in tatters. His career
Yep.
is in free fall. But it's because of problems that he created, problems that he is responsible for. And he's here in court asking you to blame Amber for them.
Now, I'm kind of concerned that people are going to think I'm a misogynist piece of
They're from
shit for the
choices
stuff
that
that I'm
he
saying
made.
about Amber Heard
You'll
and
hear a lot of
AV
evidence in
and
this trial
I mean,
about those choices.
and SD and
You'll hear
SB
evidence
and AD.
of crushing
I hope,
drug
well, I
users.
God, I hope there's not a case where the roles are
You'll
reversed.
hear evidence.
But if
Depp
there
taking
was a
more
case
drugs
where
than
the
he
roles were reversed,
You'll hear evidence that
if
before
Johnny
one
Depp
of
was the woman and
instances of
Amber Heard
abuse,
was the man, I would be all
a
over Amber Heard's
cross-country
shit as a
train
man
flight
in this
in
case.
May 2014,
It has nothing to do with
from
her being a
Boston
woman.
to Los Angeles, when he kicked Amber in the back on a private jet. You'll hear evidence that he had had no food for days, that he had used cocaine, that he had had half a bottle of whiskey, that he had had countless
Oh,
Red
please.
Bulls
That's
and
amateur
vodkas,
hour, half a bottle of
that he had
whiskey.
taken pills, and on the plane decided to top all that off with 2 bottles of champagne.
Okay, 2 bottles of champagne,
Here's
a
your
shit ton of
evidence of that.
drugs, and a half
And
a
he
bottle of
blacked
whiskey.
out on the plane, and he abused Amber and didn't remember anything about it when he woke up. You'll hear evidence of drug binges with his good friend Marilyn Manson.
That doesn't matter.
You'll hear
That's
evidence
not in question.
of
That's
that 3-day
irrelevant.
blackout in Australia that Ms. Vasquez tried to minimize and tell you was false. A 3-day blackout in which he abused and sexually assaulted Amber, all because she had the courage to confront him about his drinking. Imagine that. A concerned spouse confronts her husband about his drinking and gets rewarded with that. That is what the evidence.
Now, again, I know I accidentally triggered one of my viewers the other day by saying, don't expect them to change. You know what you're getting into. And just to be full disclosure public about this, what I mean is, there's some shit that you can't, you don't know. There's lying, deceiving, secretive con men and con women that have dual lives. That you hear these stories of the people that the guy's got a wife and a family over here and a wife and a family over there, and they have no idea about each other. And meanwhile, he claims to be like a Navy SEAL on special ops or some shit. What I'm talking about is when you fall in love or you're attracted to a guy because he's a bad boy. He does drugs. He has fun. He's an alcoholic. He acts like a pirate. He's Johnny fucking Depp. You know who he is. And then later, when you're ready to settle down and get your piece of his pie and give him a piece of your pie, oh, wow. A lot of sirens outside. Wonder what's happening. But anyway, when you're in that's my ADHD at work there, by the way. But when this is what you're attracted to, you're attracted to the wild lifestyle, you're attracted to the party lifestyle, going into it, he's an alcoholic, into it, he's a drug abuser. And then you suddenly say, okay, you're mine, we're locked in, change. Don't change. Don't try to, if you don't know about it and there's a secret they're hiding and you find out, that's fucked up. But if you know what kind of person he is and then you want to try to change him, and that goes for men or women, if you know what kind of woman she is, don't fall in love for her or be attracted to her for the wild side, the bad side, and then try to make an honest woman out of her or an honest man out of him. That's what attracted to you. Don't try to make them change. You know what the kind of person they were, and you can't expect someone to change. Off soapbox, on with the opening statement.
Will show that is what happened to my client. That 3-day blackout that led her to be so in fear for her life that she barricaded herself in her room.
Fuck off.
That same 3-day blackout that kept him from being able
There
to
is no such thing as a 3-day blackout.
to film Pirates of the Caribbean 5. His behavior on that trip, both before the blackout and during it, kept him from being a reliable actor. He showed up late to the set.
Having a blackout and being late on
And
set
after that blackout
does not equal.
He was gone from the set for a long time. Now, he
DV.
did cut off his finger, but the evidence will show my client did not do it. And just imagine this.
The
what Ms.
bottle
Vasquez
she
is
threw
trying
at
to
him
get you to
and
buy,
erupted his
that
finger, did it?
Heard somehow developed a major league level fastball and cut off his finger with a bottle. You'll see the evidence. You'll see that
Dude.
doesn't make any sense. And you'll hear from Ms. Heard
This ain't Hollywood.
experts who testify, including orthopedic hand specialists who testified there was no way that happened.
Okay. Again, they still have a lot of testimony to go. Let's see if they actually produce an orthopedic specialist who is going to testify that there's no way having the tip of your finger smashed between a thrown 1.75 liter handle of vodka and a marble or granite bar top wouldn't do some damage. Now, I won't gross you all out here, but full disclosure, that's pretty much how I lost the third toe on my right foot. I got involved in a motorcycle accident back in 2006 wearing steel-toed boots. And the steel tip of the boot collapsed in on my third toe and just basically obliterated about a third or a quarter of it, about a third of an inch of the end of my right third toe. So yeah, I can testify that what his finger looked like was kind of exactly what my toe looked like. And I'll tell you the interesting thing, because of the scar tissue and stuff, this is what, 2006, so 16, it's been 16 years. That toe still hurts like a bitch when the scar tissue gets dry and when things get stretchy and when the scar tissue and the callus builds up, that still hurts like a bitch. I have no doubt from personal experience that what he described about his finger is very, very possible.
You'll also
the bottle just randomly flew off the shelf by itself.
Exorcist,
yeah, poltergeist, bitch.
Did after he cut off his finger, when he dipped it in blood and paint and wrote graffiti all around the house. That's what you're going to see he did. And you're going to ask yourself, how can someone that is blacked out, how can they deny that they abused someone? How can they deny what they were told that they did? He has no credibility when he gets up here now.
How can they deny what they told they were did?
Do that when he was blacked out. So just remember that. Those were problems that he created. You'll hear evidence that the same addictions that led him to abuse Amber also led to the demise of his career as an actor. Like I said, as you saw with Disney, the evidence will show with Disney, he was unreliable as an actor. And those same self-destructive tendencies led to financial distress.
Sometimes when we go to Las Vegas and end up in limos with Russian drug dealers, hanging out with people at Trump National, all I can say is crazy rich attracts crazy attractive. I'm not crazy rich and I'm not crazy attractive, but I've kind of been involved in two of those three, and I've never been to Trump National.
In Johnny's case, that all have one thing in common. They all rely on him. They're all on his payroll for the most part, or they rely on him for some sort of luxury in their life. And you'll see that of these witnesses. So in a lot of ways, Amber previewed the parade of witnesses when she said in her op-ed, and I'm going to read from it and quote it here. She said, remember when I said this, imagine a powerful man as a ship, like the Titanic.
And her witness list is decreasing every day.
When it strikes an iceberg, there are a lot of people on board desperate to patch up holes, not because they believe in or even care about the ship, but because their own fates depend on the Enterprise.
The witness list for H includes witnesses upcoming. We'll have to see. And JD's the reportedly will be called as an adverse witness, which should be really interesting.
But remember that these are people who care about their own financial well-being, just as Amber previewed in that article.
Is it normal for them to recall Johnny to testify against himself? No, it's not usual. It's not really normal, but they can call him as an adverse witness so they can ask him the leading questions.
They've seen it with other people in his life who had the courage to ask him to change and who he lashed out against. These are people who helped enable the man who describes himself as the monster. Make no mistake, this man's poor choices have brought him to this courtroom. His own bad behavior, his own refusal to commit to sobriety, his own violence, his poor choices.
Committing sobriety has nothing to do with whether or not he committed
they're the ones that
DV or SA.
You'll hear evidence that he fired his longtime agent, that he got rid of his businessman.
He fired his longtime agent. Hey, let's talk about Amber Heard firing her PR team. Her PR team in the middle of the trial because she didn't like the way she was being portrayed on media. So they're criticizing Johnny for firing his agent. Holy shit, she changed her entire PR team a couple of weeks ago because she didn't like the way she was being portrayed in this. And by the way, does anybody know whose main client her previous PR team was representing? Her previous PR team that she fired was representing the Obamas. She's such a shitty person that the people that deal with the Obamas wanted nothing to do with her. Max Murrah is correct. And while we're on the subject of alcohol, which we were, Max Murrah says you did a batch margarita. Past 2 weeks, I've done batch old fashions. I like my old fashions really super fresh. Oh, Oleo Saccharum syrup. See, the great thing about Korea, and if I remember correctly, Max, you're in Japan. They actually make the tea out of that. They make the tea out of, which is basically what would you call it? Like the Madeleine orange syrup. It's so good. Yeah, they make the tea out of it, so you can just buy the tea base and just scoop it into a drink, and holy shit, that makes a good old fashioned. As a matter of fact, when I finish this live stream, that's what I'm going to go have. If I haven't blacked out due to drinking a cup and a half of tequila and a cup and a half of Cointreau. That's a good. Oh, that's. See, Max Murrah knows what's up when it comes to making a good old fashioned. I digress. Well, let's get back to I can nerd out on the whiskey and stuff because that's my Instagram account, by the way. It's Whiskey Guy Korea. That was sort of how I started, was doing whiskey and
managers
and things.
And his law firms that had represented him for years, and no one has suffered from his refusal to take accountability more than him.
Oops.
For her.
Sorry about that.
You'll hear evidence that 2 years before the op-ed.
First, mason jars are the only way to get the drink. I mean,
that brought someone else.
That's what we do in cowboy country. The mason jar is the whiskey drinking jar.
Adam Waldman, who Miss Vasquez introduced you to, had never met Mr. Depp while he was in a relationship with Miss Heard, or while he was represented by his agents or his former business managers. But he convinced him that all these bad things that are happening in his life, he helped convince him of this, were other people's fault.
Just like Amber
and you'll
Heard,
hear
everything is somebody else's fault, not hers.
Rather than take responsibility for cleaning himself up, Depp chose to blame other people. That's why we're here. And the evidence will show you crystal clearly that the op-ed had nothing to do with damages that he suffered.
Again, I don't think he cares if there's gets awarded damages or not.
Him to lose Pirates of the Caribbean 6, which is a movie that hasn't been made, but that Disney wasn't going to cast him in it because of Inquir's article. But there's no evidence.
Yet another person knowledge in the ways of mason jars.
Show that months before the op-ed, it was reported that Disney was considering dropping him from Pirates 6. The evidence will show that Disney had a dossier on him. That had articles from the press. Had other
the FBI. You got a dossier on Johnny Depp.
This article at all in their files. Didn't register with them.
Let's see if that testimony comes forth.
With the public. The public had known since 2016 what Amber had to say about Johnny Depp. This didn't change any of that. The evidence will also show that he said he would not make Pirates 6 even if Disney paid him far more money than he'd ever made on a film. That's what the evidence will show.
What was the actual thing he said? It was when they asked him on his cross-examination. They asked him something like, are you saying you wouldn't go back to doing movies if they gave you $300 million and a herd of alpacas or something like that? That was a question they asked on cross-examination. That was kind of a cute question. I like that question. Chazarian says, I hope Johnny at least gets back to making movies, though I doubt Disney will touch him ever again. I don't know if Disney will touch him ever again, but I'm firmly convinced he'll be back to doing big budget films fairly quickly.
And it's time to make Johnny take responsibility. To tell him, Mr. Depp, stop blaming other people for your self-created problems.
Oh, for God's sake, that's what I want to say to Amber Heard.
For your own life.
That's what I want to say to Amber Heard.
Ladies and gentlemen, to make him do that. It's up to you. Because you are uniquely qualified to do that. No one else.
You're sweet and special
has the power
spirit
to do that. Only you. To tell him enough is enough. To stand up for the First Amendment. To stand up for the truth. And Amber's right to speak it. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rottenborn.
That is Mr. Rotten. See, you don't even have to give Mr. Rottenborn a LawTube's nickname. He was born Rottenborn. That's like awesome. He's like, you just call him Lawyer Rottenborn, and everybody knows who you're talking about. Now, we still have Elaine's testimony to get through. I've been like cutting in and rambling way too much. I apologize if I'm boring the shit out of everybody, but hey, whatever. Now, Burst of Beauty 380 says, my thing is this: if the extreme DV physical was going on long before marriage, why go through it? Generally, physical DV begins after marriage. If mine started before marriage, I would have walked. I mean, that is kind of the common thing. You're the nice guy until you get what you want, and then once they're locked in, then the violence creeps in. I mean, on the first date, if you go, hi, my name is so-and-so, bam, you're not going to date the guy again. At least I hope not. But yeah, I understand the Burst of Beauty 380 says something above as a survivor. I'm an upper middle class white male heterosexual guy. When I say women do this in domestic violence in DV situations or this, I come out of the gate with a certain lack of credibility. I still have my opinions, and I think they're right because they're my opinions. But when people who have suffered through DV and SA come out and say they think Amber Heard is full of shit, that carries much more weight than me saying it. And the fact that you're seeing TikTok full of mocking Amber Heard, and coming out against her and not supporting her and supporting Johnny Depp. When you're seeing that all through YouTube, when women are doing, and these are the same women that probably were calling for Johnny Depp's head. I don't think like a lot of middle-aged, white Christian women are making TikTok videos. It's all, the young SJWs, the girls, that would normally be calling for Johnny Depp's head. They're now making fun of her. That says a lot more than anything I could ever say. That says much more than I could ever say. And I mean, it's a shitty situation. It disgusts me on behalf of women. Not that I would ever pretend to speak on behalf of other women, but it just disgusts me on behalf of other women that she says these things. And as I talked about before, it just devalues the actual victims. And what Burst of Beauty was saying about why would she get married if she knew this? If you go back to a couple of videos ago, I spliced together every time she alleged to have been the victim of physical DA. And a huge chunk, many, many, many multiples, I don't want to say dozens, but at least a dozen times happened before their marriage. They dated for a couple of years, which was longer than their marriage lasted. So many of these horrific ones she was describing happened before marriage, but she still wanted to. She still had hope. She still had dreams. It's not me to judge someone for getting into that, but you got into that. It was if that actually happened, you knew it was going to continue to happen. First Beauty again says there may be verbal DV prior to marriage, but not physical generally. Even I hope nobody in my family ever finds out I even have this fucking YouTube channel. But my father was very, and see, this is why I have the problem with the possibility that Johnny Depp could lose on the interpretation of Virginia law, which doesn't define DV. It could encompass verbal A. And that's where I have my particular, because my father was very verbally A to my mother. I mean, the things that my father would say about my mother were absolutely horrifying. And I remember as a child, I would pray, I would literally get on my knees and pray to God every night that my parents wouldn't get divorced, because I was frightened of divorce. I was afraid they would get divorced. And then about the time I was 12 or 13, I realized what was going on in this situation. I realized how like verbally A this was. And then I remember again praying on my knees every night, asking God to please let my parents get a divorce so that dad could deal with his shit and mom could go on and be happy. And I mean, eventually they just got too old to fight anymore. And you know, my mother passed a bunch of years ago from diabetes complications. But for so much of the life, there was this I only saw my father get physically abusive once. And I was 4 years old. And so that was, God, 49, it could be 48 years ago. And I still remember that like it was yesterday. But it was years and years and years of verbal A. And what Johnny was saying was true at the beginning when he was saying that sometimes the verbal is more hurtful and damaging and long lasting than the physical. And I'm really concerned that the jurors are going to focus on that aspect of it. So even if he didn't hit her, he was still very verbally A, and therefore she was correct in her statements. Now let's catch up on a couple of the comments here. I can't wait till I'm monetized. So, hey, if you want me to get monetized, and oh, dang it, I hate these headphones. All right, let's stop sharing that screen. And well, this is the fun thing here is getting used to all of this this newfangled technology. All right, there we go. To cut out my audio. Yeah, I'm worried that they'll latch onto this and find that he was guilty of doing this because of the verbal aspect of it. And so let's catch up on these comments, and we'll hit Elaine's, and then we'll call it a night. Brandon says, white female liberals are destroying the U.S. Throw males into that too. Throw the beta males, throw the simps in there. My boomer parents have the mindset to assess facts. My sister harvests ballots for Hillary. I'll leave that where it is. Cheers, Brandon. Jossarian Fry says, Johnny's how old? 56, I believe. It's close to 60. You just don't start randomly beating women out of nowhere and all previous relationships. That's it. Again, I've said that multiple times. When these allegations came out, when this op-ed came out, I could fully believe Amber Heard. I could fully believe it because you have a bad character being so into drugs. You have a bad character being an alcoholic. And the way he just always like, I'm out of it. I'm Johnny Depp. And the way he talks. I could see him being a violent type of person. So I was willing to give her the benefit of the doubt. But as Chaucerian says, as time goes by, not a single former girlfriend. Ellen Barkin is on the witness list. And she was 10 years older than him at the time they were dating. But again, her testimony in England anyway was to say that he was angry and broke stuff around her, was violent near her. She does not say that he was physically or verbally abusive. There you go. Why do I care? I'm not monetized yet. So he was violent. She doesn't say he was violent. She says that he got angry and would destroy things and break stuff and throw things near her. Not a single former girlfriend, not a single former employee, nobody has come forward to say that he hit anybody, that he was ever like this. Literally 100% of his former wives and girlfriends have said he was a sweet guy, he was generous, he was giving, he was quiet, he was mild. That spoke huge volumes to me. And that was a major part of this tipping point towards thinking that these are false allegations. And then we got into the trial, and then all doubts were erased. All tapes I heard was reactive, though. Dr. Huge Liar was saying victims of DV do. Absolutely correct, Nessie. Nessie's 58, 56, 58. I was close. Exactly. It makes a whole lot of nonsense true. Oh, cool. Your Earl Swat says he'll be 59 on June 9th. I'll be 53 in July. Yay. Josh Jackson, welcome to the chat. So if Johnny raised his voice 2 or 3 times, it's automatic abuse. She was yelling the whole time. Well, that's the thing I've noticed. It's like when her testimony, she's talking about these things. Every time she would say it like this, he was screaming. He was just screaming. That's all she said for her entire testimony from beginning to end is he was just screaming. Where's the testimony of anyone hearing these screams? Where's the testimony of anyone coming and saying that, yeah, I saw him kick her in the back on an airplane. Yeah, I saw him wailing on her. And there's another guy who's recently joined the law tubes kind of about the same time I did. He's a woodworker, and he was talking about when they were talking about how he was standing on the bed with his knee in his back, forcing her head and like rabbit punching the shit out of the back of her head, that he was actually putting so much pressure he broke the wood frame of the bed. This woodworking lawyer that's on Legal Bites and a couple of other places has showed as a woodworker how it's literally impossible for that to be true. So where are these people to corroborate this? She's got a lot of fucking ground to cover up before her testimony's over. Chaucerian Fraud says, the thing that did it for me was her constantly complaining about him leaving during a fight. Victims of domestic violence would not do that. You'd think if you were the victim of domestic violence, you'd want the fucker to leave. But, all right. Bertha Beauty 380 says, still loving H, making sure Johnny Depp's texts are brought up. Everyone vents to their friend and says crazy ass stuff just to release stress. And there's humor. I mean, if I can see guys, they get a fight with their girlfriend. Yeah, I'd like to see your corpse in the back of a Honda Civic. Or some chick saying, yeah, I wish this horrible thing would happen to my boy. That's just the shit you say to your friends in text. That he didn't say it to her. He didn't say he was going to do it. He didn't say he was going to fuck her corpse to make sure she was dead. He said, we should just do that. And that was straight from Monty Python. This whole she's a witch. Let's burn her. I'll fuck her corpse to make sure she's dead. That was a whole, we found a witch. Maybe burn her and throw her into the pond. It was straight from there. It's just joking and being silly. How do we get you monetized? I need 4,000 viewing hours and 1,000 subscribers. Yeah, so yeah, just like and subscribe. Again, I'm not above begging. I think it'd just be kind of fun. I like doing this. Andrew over at Legal Mindset he convinced me to do this. You got shit to say and it's fun and we enjoy talking. So I did this completely to bow down to him, just give in and do this kind of fun stuff. She had friends living in her house. If he was violent, she has no witnesses yet. I'm going to say yet. Let's see if this 227 more. That's all. Shit, I was 700 this morning. Hey, whoever subscribed since I started, God bless all of you. You're awesome. What is my count now? I don't even know what my own count is yet. I don't really care, but hey, it'd be fun. Bursa counters here with usually the victim is the one running away. Absolutely. Yeah, you're either the one running away or you're pretty happy when he leaves. And I mean, that's I should have double dosed on my blood pressure pills this morning. Because you do that when you're old. You got to take your blood pressure pills. Behavior panel found age testimony deceptive and JD truthful. Well, and the other thing, if you look at behavioral, there's a lot of behavioral analysts on YouTube that are looking into this. And without exception that I've seen, maybe there's one or two out there, but without exception, the behavioral analysts I've seen said her body language says she is lying, flat out lying. Nessie says, we say shit like, you bring the tequila, I'll bring the shovel. I got the tequila! I don't own a shovel, so someone else is going to have to own it. Well, I don't own a shovel in Korea. So I got the tequila. Who wants to bring the shovel? How do we get you monetized? Like I said, you need 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 hours of video watching. So it'll be a while, but it'll be fun. Next time you watch her on the stand, says Jarl of SWAT. Take a drink every time she says, I remember. Oh, fuck me. Yeah. I can drink a lot. There's the evidence against me. Anybody want evidence against my drinking abilities? There it is right over there. But even I wouldn't take that challenge. Yeah, I'm not going to take that challenge. Chaucerian Fries says, Brandon Leska, we should harass Andrew to introduce this guy to Nick and Ricada. Well, I don't know if I'm quite up to like Nick or Alita level, but you know, when I get yeah, that'd be kind of fun to. I mean, I got shit to say, and I would love to join those conversations, but kind of probably need to refine my game a little bit more. But I mean, that would be fun. I'm not. If they said, "Do you want to?" I was certain. I surely would never say no. But it's kind of. I don't feel I'm up to that level yet. But hey, you know, certainly wouldn't turn it down. Josh says, I would be surprised if she tries to get out of cross-examination like her baby is sick or something. COVID was speculated. She's going to come down with COVID. Because apparently that's still a thing. You're all of SWAT. Take a drink during direct for every sustained objection. That would kill you. I mean, that would literally kill you. Need 278 more. Okay. Well, that's more than there was this morning when I woke up. Not just not on. Yeah, I think I could probably hold my own with Nick. I mean, that would be fun. Alita over a legal bite. I mean, she's an absolute dream. She's sharp. She's on point. She has great guests. I would sort of probably be afraid of saying inappropriate stuff because at 52, I don't care anymore. If you don't like me and don't like what I have to say, hit the road. All right. Well, God, we're already an hour and 17 minutes into this. 9 of you are still here. God bless all of you all. Let's go on to the other half of the opening statements by Elaine. And I can't remember what everybody else in LawTube is nicknamed Elaine, lawyer Elaine. But to me, she looks and she reminds me of those of you, at least from America, will know Lady Elaine Fairchild from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. She has this little merry-go-round. She's this little witch. And she's just this angry little witch that like always hates everybody and always feels sorry for herself. So to me, she's Lady Elaine Fairchild. I don't know what everyone else has nicknamed her. But that's my babe, Lady Elaine. Let's see. All right. Well, that's interesting. Let me pop this up here. Okay, and then we'll full screen it. Great. Crazy Cat Lady. That's right. Yeah, she's Crazy Cat Lady.
For the First Amendment. To stand up for the truth and Amber's right.
Hit the road, Jack. Don't you come back no more, no more, no more, no more. Hit the road, Jack. Good.
Ms. Butterhoff?
Nice one, Nessie. Oh, guess we can take that off. All right, let's jump into this. and go with Lady Elaine Fairchild's opening statements.
Okay.
She's so instantly dislikable. Amica lady. Well, we're about to see the first appearance of Amica in the trial. Which message did I
Good
skip?
morning, Phil. It's good to see you all again, and thank you again very much. Ben told you we will be relying on the evidence rather than the hyperbole and the personal attacks, and he was right. The evidence in this case, simply put, is overwhelming and compelling. In the 6 weeks, we're going to try to show you as much as we possibly can. There are many, many, many photographs. Now, you
How many?
heard Ms. Vasquez try to say,
Oh, she always calls her Vasquez, which probably pisses her
She's
off.
got that wrong. It's not from the original devices. Ms. Heard took all kinds of photographs, and her friends took photographs.
Okay, now I want you to focus on this picture. Focus on this image. For those of you who don't know from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood who Lady Elaine Fairchild is, let me show you who Lady Elaine Fairchild is and tell me this does not look like Elaine. To me, this looks exactly like Elaine. Where are we here? I guess that's her. That's Lady Elaine Fairchild. Look at that. You got the bobbed hair, the kind of nose poking out, the chin poking out, the high cheekbones, the bob haircut. Now let's go back to Elaine the lawyer. Where is Elaine the lawyer? Tell me I'm crazy. Tell me they're not the same person. That's Lady Elaine Fairchild from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. And they've got the same fucking name. I mean, Rottenborn and Lady Elaine Fairchild. I guess I can get rid of that message, huh, guys? But anyway, yeah, to me, she just looks so much like Lady Elaine Fairchild from Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood. The only thing missing is the turkey waddle.
And all of those remained on the cloud, and all of them have been imaged, and all of them have been examined by their IT experts, and they cannot discredit one photograph.
Oh, bullshit!
Then
You won't
she
give them
said,
the metadata.
"Oh, and it's got a photo.
I almost
editing
called her
thing."
the C word.
Well, all iPhones have the photo editing. It's where you can make it a little lighter or darker. You can move it to the center or not. That doesn't discredit the photographs. And
Oh,
we
yes, it
have
does.
IT
It totally
experts
changes the way it
who will
looks.
testify that all of the
You can change. You can up the contrast.
legitimate,
God damn it!
authentic
You can up the contrast on a picture to make any dark area look much darker, much worse, and you could make a shadow look like a bruise very easily just fucking around with a contrast on a picture.
photographs. Not only that, but Ms. Heard produced all of her different devices over the years, including her most recent laptop, and they were pulled from many, many sources.
She says, I'll call her the C word.
So if she was
You
going
can
to
do
go and
that.
try to manipulate,
That's sort of like, I can't say the N word, I can't say the C
And
word,
Ms.
I
Heard
can
will
say
tell you
whatever
she doesn't
white
have that level
middle-class
of
males
talent.
are allowed to
There may
say.
be a couple of you on the jury who have that talent. She does not have that talent. They're all very legitimate photographs, and listen carefully to the evidence from the experts, and you will find every single piece is authenticated and is true.
Oh,
And they
bullshit.
show
We'll see.
bruises, and they show cut lips. They show hair pulled out of her.
Cut lips. They show a red sore on the lip that I thought was a cold sore the first time I saw it. But Andrew over at Legal Mindset had a makeup artist on earlier today. And go and check out that testimony. She has some really interesting things. And she pointed out something interesting. There is a picture with her with like a sore on her lip. That I get cold sores a lot, so I thought it was cold sore. But the makeup artist mentioned that Amber Heard does this a lot. She chews on her lip, right? And that was the same side that she chews on is the same side this sore was on. And someone else in my comments on one of the other videos mentioned something that I had never thought of, and I'm going to go back and look at the pictures and see where they had like the pictures of the clumps of hair, and they showed a picture of a scalp. I saw nothing on that other than just sort of the normal swirl at the top of the scalp, but apparently there's some blistering there, which I think it was one of you here in the stream now that said that it looked like a burn with a curling iron. And I shave my head, so me and curling irons, we know fuck all about each other. So that's something interesting. The only thing I know about curling irons is when I would pick one up after my ex-wife would leave the fucker plugged in. I know they make blisters on fingers, but I guess they make blisters on scalps too. I don't know. Quickly see breeze to the comments here. You take the case. Matt Baker also gets a C-word pass because, hey, apparently that's the way you say, hey, buddy, to a person in Australia is you call them a cunt. I just love how that's a term of endearment in Australia, which apparently, according to Nick, doesn't actually exist, but which I say because of Terry Pratchett's books, Australia is just sort of the place where God created things as a joke. We got a long comment here from Max Murray. The Lady Lane Fairchild character shows a reddened schnoz. Look at Pinocchio effect. It's a condition that affects some people where blood rushes to the face under stress and lying. God, this is just Lady Elaine Fairchild. Maybe I'm the only one old enough to remember Lady Elaine Fairchild, but hey, that's me. Boris Yeltsin, the president of Russia way back in the early 90s, he also had a ridiculously bright red nose and cheeks because he was a terminal alcoholic. And that having been said, let's jump back into this.
They show all kinds they show two black eyes when he headbutted her. Those are all going to be there.
Oh, that was
going to show you a video, and I'll talk
that was
about
a shitty
the
picture.
time frame of it. Ms. Heard took that on her iPad, and it was one day when she was in the kitchen with Mr. Depp, and it was February 10th, 2016, and he's on a tear, and he's going around, he's yelling at her and being abusive to her, and he's slamming the kitchen cupboards, and they're glass, and you can hear them rattling, and you can hear them breaking. Then
yes, you can hear them breaking, you can hear them rattling, you can watch him smash the cabinets, but he does not say anything verbally A towards her. He does not do anything physically V towards her.
Then he goes over with a big glass of wine, and he has a huge bottle of wine.
Make a pint!
More in there. And then she says, "Did you drink all of that?" And then he sees that she's videotaping him, and bam. That's going to be a pretty graphic one for you to see.
There
Then
was
you're
no
gonna hear
fucking
audio.
bam in that video.
Pretty
The
significant.
bam
too.
was, oh, you're
Ben told
recording that,
about
are you?
the May
Fine. And he
2014
slaps the camera,
plane,
which she
Boston
was not
Plains,
holding.
as we call it, where he kicked her, where he was so drunk and he blacked out. Well, Amber audio taped him when he went to the back of the plane and passed out and was moaning loudly. You will
Okay.
hear that.
Who actually saw that video of him in the plane? I don't know what the fuck that is supposed to show, but I thought it was really funny. It was like a minute and a half of him just going, ah, ah, ah. How does that prove he was abusive? I mean, I'm like, I have weird tells when I'm really drunk. A lot of people fall asleep or they act out or they do dumb shit. I have one weird, stupid thing that all of my friends make fun of me for doing when I drink a little too much. I do Chewbacca impressions. I'm not proud of it, but it happened. So that's like when all my friends are like, oh, Chewbacca's coming out to play. And that's the point when I know, okay, I've had enough to drink. When I'll just sit there and just like, that's my tell. And that's kind of that's why I was laughing at Johnny Depp with the audio of him just in the back of the plane going, that doesn't prove he's violent. It proves he's drunk and probably ralphing in the john of the airplane.
You will also hear some other audio tapes that are very significant. One of them in Australia at the end of the 3-day hostage situation. You will hear apparently Mr. Depp
Hostage
turned
situation.
on-
Oh, fuck. I don't remember that. So the time she was in Australia, she was a fucking hostage? Oh my God. I don't remember that. I know they were saying that it was DA inflicted upon her over the space of 3 days, but I don't remember her calling it a hostage situation. Hyperbole much?
Ms. Heard's iPhone. She was never allowed to have a password, by the way. He would never let her do that during their relationship, but he must have inadvertently turned it on. There's 5 hours of audio tape. It's during the cleanup of all the broken glass and the liquor and the urine.
And looking for the finger that she
everything
lopped
else in
off.
that house. And you can hear his handlers talking about it. You
His
can hear them
handlers.
talking about trying to find his finger. And that you can hear them say, she's stone cold sober. You will hear all of that.
You can be stone cold sober and throw a bottle at somebody's fucking head.
Very, very significant evidence. What this is going to tell you is the story of a very different Johnny Depp. It's one who is
Oh, Jarl of SWAT. Yeah, that whole Aussie
because
dog
he has the
episode. That was
charismatic
ridiculous.
side that Amber fell in love with, but he has an enormous amount of rage. You
He
will
has an
see the medical
enormous
records and hear from the
amount of
psychiatrist
rage.
that talked to him for a while in 2014, where he admits that he has rage, that he's like a demon, that he
But I have a shit ton of anger. I don't suffer fools lightly. I don't put up with shit. I'm full of rage, probably 20 hours of the day. But that doesn't mean I abuse anyone. That doesn't mean that I do anything. And again, like we're talking, he breaks his own shit.
he views his wife, Amber, like his mother and his sister that he hates. That's what
Damn
you
it.
will see. You will see that. And it'll be fueled by the alcohol and the drugs. Ben told you a little bit about that. You're going to see a list of his prescription drugs that his concierge doctor and team, who
I don't think we've seen that list yet.
$100,000 a
We'll see if they
and
if
have
they
since
produce this list.
2014, and they are still his concierge doctors. That's the list of medications he takes in one day that they prescribe. That doesn't include the cocaine. It doesn't include the
It doesn't include the cocaine.
MDMA, the mushrooms, and all of the others.
Bonus.
Now, it's during these rages that Mr. Depp engaged in verbal, emotional, physical, and sexual abuse of Amber.
Again, I worry that they're
Let
going
me
to convince
introduce
the
you to
jury
Amber, the lesser known
that
person here. And I
verbal
know when we were doing the voir dire,
D
none of you had even watched
is
as much
part
as
of
3
D.
of her movies. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about Amber. She's 35 years old. She's from Austin, Texas. She grew up outside of Austin, Texas. She has a daughter, Una, who turned 1 last week.
And I did not know she had a daughter.
Amber grew up in an area, her father was a construction worker, primarily a painter, but he would break horses as part-time. They lived out on a ranch area. Because her mother, Paige, who died at 2 years ago at age 63, dropped out of medical school to marry Amber's father. She worked for the state of Texas in internet communication.
And I did, again, this is objection relevance. She was raised by a father whose job was breaking horses. And as someone who lives in
They grew up
Utah,
very
and I know
poor.
how this shit works, I just grew up around horses. When you break horses, you take a wild horse, and what I'm saying, change the word horse with Johnny Depp. You take a wild horse / Johnny Depp. It's free-spirited, wild, does its own thing. You grab it, you tie it down, you rope it, you hold it, you ride it, you pull on the reins until you break its spirit. You break its spirit until it complies with what you want to do and becomes docile and obedient to your every command. This was what she was raised doing to animals. And I think you can see that that's exactly how she treated Johnny. She tried to break Johnny like a horse, to take this wild, free-spirited animal and to create him and to break his spirit and to form him into something that was useful to her.
Amber has a sister, Whitney, who's 16 months younger than her. And you will see and hear from Whitney later because unfortunately she also witnessed some of the abuse. Amber rode horses with her father. She tried to work with him to help him break the horses. She remembers having a broken arm at least 4 times, being in casts during that time. But there were some things she learned from breaking those horses.
Yeah, how to destroy the spirit of a wild creature.
She couldn't show fear, she couldn't show pain, and she couldn't show emotion. That's how she could break those horses. It's significant.
That was what I just talked about. Let's hit a couple of these questions here. Brandon, another actual question. Do you think the jurors are too sheltered to know what goes on in Emma Mansion's drug, booze, fights, and private dock security? I'm pretty sure they can grasp it conceptually, but I think it goes to the issue of damages. I mean, if we just assume these are 7 ignorant schlubs, I don't know if they can really connect with someone saying her writing a few words in a piece of paper cost me $50 million. And in a lot of cases, like where these defamation or libel or slander cases, when the court will say, okay, or the jury will say, okay, we find you guilty of this, and the award, not guilty, we find you liable for committing slander, whatever and whatnot. A lot of times when you can't quantify the amount of damages that have actually been incurred, they'll be awarded a damage of say $1. So say, we believe you were slandered, we believe there was defamation, we believe there was libel, whatever the case may be. We believe you, but you were unable to prove the actual amount of damages, so we'll award you $1 as a token. I'm pretty sure the video is after he found he lost $625 million and had to pay taxes and was breaking stuff. I don't know, but that would probably cause me to break a lot of shit. Nessie said we didn't break the spirit of our horses. Okay, there I go again, hitting the wrong thing.
And how
I guess I missed, but you don't break the spirit of the animal. You assert your dominance over it. I guess maybe that would be a more accurate way of saying it. Cocaine is actually not a Schedule 1 or Class 1 drug, it's Class 2. I think it implies some legitimate medical use. That, as we all know, Coca-Cola is called Coca-Cola because it had cocaine in it back in the day. Cocaine was a prescription back in the early 1900s. Yeah, whereas weed is like some dangerous. I've never smoked marijuana in my life because I had a brother, my older brother. He was a pretty serious drug addict at one point in his life, and I saw that and it freaked me out, and I never wanted anything to do with it. But now that I'm like in my 50s and don't give a shit anymore, I think it would be kind of fun just to see what it's all about. But I'm kind of I need to find one of my old stoner friends from high school to sort of walk me through like an edible or something like that, because they all say like the THC, the marijuana, the weed, the edibles now aren't like the way it used to be in high school 35 years ago. I wouldn't be adverse to just experiencing. If AH was stone cold, says Sandy McPartland, why did MD advise Seroquel, an antipsychotic she regularly took? Good point. We built a trusting relationship with our horses. Okay. It's interesting you like broke because like I mean maybe it's like an age thing. I mean I've been here in Korea for 34 years. So it'll be 34 years in September. So I haven't been around horse breaking for 35 years, 36 years. But and I know like dog training has changed too, where it used to be like you had to assert your dominance as the alpha male, kind of the Caesar shit. But now it's gone into you figuring out why the animals do that and sort of convincing them. But like back when I was growing up, you broke the horse by just bridling it, riding it, and hanging on until the horse just gave up. And H has a daughter by a surrogate said to be Musk's. I've heard that now, but I wasn't aware of it at the time of the opening statements. Yeah, she was with her. That was when she was with her ex-wife still. No, that was before Johnny Depp was her ex-wife. Brandon, thanks for the reminder. My wedding anniversary is the day after. Don't miss that. And the one thing I can say from my failed marriage was when the wife tells you you don't need to get her anything, get her something anyway. Wait, what was this? Make sure you're in the wrong country for weed. Oh yeah, I'm definitely in the wrong. I don't know how it is in Japan, but in Korea, drugs are drugs are drugs are drugs. There is no difference. I mean, the difference between weed and LSD and crack cocaine is almost non-existent. Drugs are drugs are drugs are drugs in Korea. My younger brother lived in Korea for 6 or 7 years. He was teaching English and whatnot while I was here, basically because he was trying to get away from my father at that point in time. And he had a bit of a problem with that. And I told him, if you can't not smoke weed until you go on vacation, don't come here, because there is no legal distinction in any practical sense between weed, hash, coke, crack, LSD. Drugs are drugs are drugs in Korea. What I meant to say is some people use physical violence to break horses. We use kindness and build trust. That's what I meant. Yeah, Nessie, like when I was growing up, it was all you used physical violence to break horses. Jury makeup was 4 Asian men, 2 white women, 1 each, black, Asian, and white. 2 are alternates. And it'll be interesting to see how the women view this. Edibles are different. It's processed through your liver. And this is like shit I know nothing about. Because I was just a sweet little Mormon missionary boy when I first moved here. I have no idea. Whereas smoking flower goes through the lungs. Literally different chemical process. Edibles last longer and is more intense. That's what I hear. I have zero frame of reference for this. But I finally, after 3 years, get to go back to the States on vacation. And we'll see. I just need to hit up some of my stoner friends from high school and see what's going on. They said, don't eat a whole edible if you've never ate them before. Wait a long time before eating more because it will knock you down. There's a couple of good comedy skits about that. And yeah, I dated a girl here for a while. She was big into the THC experience. And I have this like weird, I love popcorn. I'm a huge popcorn fiend. I just love popcorn is like my serious comfort food. In my kitchen, I have a theater style popcorn popper. And I use coconut oil and the whole shitty works. And we were talking one day, this girl I was dating, she's like, oh yeah, me and my sister, we were doing like this THC popcorn. And I'm like, what? So that's she's like, yeah, if anyone ever offers you like a brownie, don't eat the whole fucking thing. Take a couple bites. Popcorn, you should probably stay away from that. So I'm curious. I'll admit I'm curious. Brandon said, if I go smoke weed, will you wait 15 minutes until I come back? Yeah, the chances of me like shutting the fuck up and getting done with this rather lengthy testimony in the next 15 minutes is probably 0. So yeah, I'll be here. And God bless the 7 of you that are still here putting up with my incessant ramblings. But I'm having fun. This is like a good thing. And I appreciate you all being here. And if any of you here don't know what we're doing, we're revisiting the opening statements from the lawyers to see how things are going up to this point. And I'm just having fun. Like and subscribe and all that other stuff. And let's get back onto it.
With Mr. Depp for as long as she could, the dynamics of some of the abuse you're going to hear about, because that's what would be her instinct, is to stand up and not let him show that he's caused the pain, that he's caused the fear, that he's caused the humiliation.
See, this was like the horse breaking trained her to ignore the pain. I think it trained her to be the dominant person in the situation.
She took all kinds of miscellaneous jobs, everything else, trying to improve herself. She's not somebody who had a great break.
Damn it.
What happened was she got recognized by a Hollywood agent who expressed some interest in her. She took her $180 that she'd saved up and she went to LA. That's all she had to her name. The testimony will be she worked all kinds of different jobs when she was in LA, anything that she could get.
Well, the stripper pole is still waiting for you, Amber, when you finish this.
She would go on buses. She'd go up to six different auditions in one day. She'd have a map and she'd have the bus, and then she would just go around. She had a big sweater so she could change underneath it to whatever the role was.
So she had a sweater,
She
therefore
wasn't
she's
going
the
for,
victim
famous
of DV.
actor roles. She was taking one-liners. She was taking extras. She was doing anything.
That's how everybody starts in the industry.
And then you know what she did with it? She gave a bunch of it back to her parents. She started helping support them. Then when Whitney graduated from high school, she brought her out to LA and put a roof over.
And here's the secret to making a good margarita: some lemon and lime zest in the mixture.
When she met Johnny Depp in 2009, when he hired her for Rum Diaries to star Tasha,
I had some weed-infused jalapeno peanut. That sounds so fucking good.
She had an apartment. She had a vehicle, a Mustang.
I love peanut brittle. My mother was a candy maker by trade. She was a confectioner, and she made the most awesome peanut brittle. And I love jalapenos.
The Rum Diaries,
that sounds really dangerous.
Not true that she was pursuing him or anything else. She was in a long-term relationship with Tasha Van Ray. And
Tasha Van Ray, who now fucking hates her guts. And yes, she did pursue him. There's all of these statements and comments about how she would read the same books he liked, listen to the same music so that she could groom him, I guess, is what the word I would use.
Was in a long-term relationship with Vanessa Paradis. Neither of them had any kind of romantic relationship at that time. When she departed from the Rum Diaries in 2009, Johnny started pursuing her. In fact, he sent her a number of gifts. One of them was a guitar, and she returned it. Now, 2 years later, fast forward, that's when the press junket started. And that's when she had to come back and meet with him, and they ran on the press tours. At that point, she had ended the relationship.
And Nessie says, I can't believe she made him look like a pervert. Yeah, that was mentioned a couple of times in his opening statements.
So during
he was older. She was only 25. Like Johnny was grooming him. When I think she was grooming Johnny.
She loved the side of Johnny that we see in the movies, the charismatic one, the charming one, the generous one. That's the man she fell in love with. But sadly, the monster came in the way. And that monster would come out when he was drinking and when he would take the drugs. Amber will never forget the first event of abuse. She was sitting in his house in Sweetser on the sofa.
Let's see how this
across from her. And they were talking about a tattoo that he had that had Winona Ryder forever. He had altered that to Wine Forever after.
Wine forever. As an alcoholic, the details are important. It wasn't wine forever. It was wine forever. You cunt.
After he broke up with Winona Ryder. Just an aside, he had Slim, which was his nickname for Amber. When they broke up, he turned it to Scum. But in any event, he had that on there. And great. Amber thought he was making a joke when he was talking about it. And she laughed. And he up.
Now, I'm 52. I have 0 tattoos. I was interested in getting tattoos when I was younger because that was like the rebel thing. And now everybody has tattoos. So I'm sort of kind of feeling like the rebel for not having a tattoo. But I'll be getting like 3 tattoos probably in November. I want to get like both of my dogs' faces, both of my bulldogs' faces, and a memorial to my mother and my older brother. There's like 3 tattoos I want to get. And the one thing I've always been fascinated by, like, inked and, these tattoo-based programs. And I have friends that are hugely tattooed. And the one thing I've learned, don't fucking make fun of people's tattoos.
Slapped her. Now you see the rings that Mr. Depp has on hers when he slaps.
Yeah.
And she was stunned. She had no idea what.
Yeah, she talks about, she even mentioned that, I think it was in the 3rd or 4th allegation of DV, where she says that he backhanded her with these rings on and there was blood splashed on the walls. If you got backhanded with a fistful of rings, you would know it. And she took pictures of everything. Ping pong tables, him sleeping, the floors and mirrors. Where's the picture of the blood splattered wall from being backhanded by a fistful of rings? Where's the I'm just rehashing shit I say every video
laugh
now.
Thinking, well, maybe that was a joke. what just happened.
Men are simple creatures. I'm sure it was effective.
And then she
Men
got
are
sick.
simple creatures. Women overthink us. You
And then
feed
hit
us,
her again,
you
and
fuck
this
us,
time
you
it
pay
knocked her
attention to
right
us.
off
That's
the
all we want.
sofa, under
That
the
is
drama.
it.
And she remembers
Men
her
are
face
basic.
was in this
You
dirty,
give us our
filthy
basic
carpet.
needs
That's what
and
she
we're like
remembers
happy.
and fixates
Let us watch
on,
our
the dirty
football
carpet.
player video games,
And
whatever
she's
your thing
thinking,
is.
oh my God, I have to leave. I have to leave. But I love him. I have to leave. But I love him.
Rumor has it she got a
she
habit of
sat
showing
there
up in men's
for the
trailers
longest
naked.
time. She
I admit
waited
I would probably
for the
smash
time.
Amber
When
just
Johnny came off
because
the
she's
sofa,
probably
got
a
on his
wild
knees,
one.
started crying,
Now I
told
wouldn't
her
touch
he
her with a
was
10.
very,
I wouldn't
very
touch her with
sorry
someone
that
else's
he had
10
done
foot
this. It
pole.
would never happen again. And he said some very significant words. I thought I had put the monster away for good. That's what
see,
he said to her.
Him,
that
the
day.
monster is the drugs,
Amber
is
ended up
the
leaving
the
that
anger.
day,
I
and
don't
she
think
went
it
out to her
refers
car,
to the
the Mustang,
violence.
and she remembers that it was cold, and she sat in the car for the longest time, and she remembers watching her breath because it was cold, and she was
Okay.
thinking,
She remembers looking at
but
the.
I love him. She just kept thinking that.
See, and I have
She
so
finally
many
wrote-
problems with this. And again, I've mentioned this before, and maybe some of you people who are unfortunately victims of actual DV or SA. My experience in dealing with and representing and knowing people like this, the survivors focus on the actual incident itself because they're hyper focused, the adrenaline's pumping, and they're in survival mode. Like, how do I not fucking get killed? How do I not get killed? They can tell you the detail. You have the time dilation, the whole I see my life flash before my eyes in a second. I've been in a couple of horrific motorcycle accidents where literally I can detail you things that occurred in fractions of a second. But I couldn't tell you what was going on over here and over there. Where she is in the middle of these horrific incidents she's describing. She's saying, I don't really know what happened, but my carpet was really dirty, and I can't imagine how we let the carpet get this dirty. Or, oh yeah, I mean, he is he's conducting a cavity search with his fingers and violate. And I was looking at the blue light. I remember the blue light. I don't remember what happened. Or she remembers these extraneous details that, in my personal experience, and in the experience of people that have been actually victims of this type of behavior, would never focus on. She remembers all these weird extraneous details, and that totally undermines her credibility to me.
drove away. But Amber made the mistake that millions before her and millions after her have, who are victims of domestic abuse. She chose to stay and try to fix the problem, and thinking that she could do that. So she stayed. Now, Amber she grew up in an abusive family. Her father abused her mother, and sometimes she and Whitney. So she had that cycle in there, just as you've heard that Johnny had that cycle in his house. And so what's the normal to them is a little bit more difficult than some of us can understand. You will hear expert witness testimony about the cycles of violence and what happens with these people and how they react. And
I don't think
all the dynamics of thinking they can.
I don't think Dr. Huge
She
Liar
thought
addressed
all
this
the way
issue.
through. She could fix him if she can just get him sober and
See,
clean.
she wants to
then
fix
everything
him.
was gonna be that
Why does she
wonderful
want to
side that
fix
she
him?
had.
He was damaged.
And
She knew
kept
she was
trying,
damaged. She
and
was
kept
attracted to
trying.
that
She went
damage.
to Al-Anon meetings. She went to therapists. She tried to do couples therapy. You'll hear about their tape recording sessions to try to resolve fights or de-escalate them so he wouldn't get mad at her for anything. But you'll hear that he gets mad at her for all kinds of things. He
Oh,
didn't
I
want
think
her to
that was
work.
pretty much
Here
exactly
she's a
the
budding
opposite.
actor who wants to be out there and succeed, and he doesn't want her to take roles. He starts controlling what she wears. He starts looking at her lines when she tries out.
Well, see, now this, I don't know. I mean, I can kind of see this. And it's always kind of been a mystery to me how the celebrity power couples who are involved in these movies, where you're married and your spouse is involved in a sex scene or a kissing scene or a nudity scene. I can kind of see wanting to say, hey, look, man, I'm not comfortable with that. I trust you, you're my wife and whatnot, or I trust you and you're my husband or whatnot, but I don't think, again, maybe this is the thing that the jurors will have problems with. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, that's kind of a strange, I just don't know how these couples deal with it. Maybe they don't, because there's so many divorces in the Hollywood couple thing. But yeah, I mean, I can see like, hey, you're my wife. I don't want, you showing your body to these people. I don't want you to be involved in these sex scenes. If you, whatever this costume you're supposed to wear isn't relative to the movie, so maybe we can kind of modesty it up a bit. I can see that. I mean, that doesn't seem abusive or controlling to me. Maybe it is. I don't know, but that's how I don't particularly see it that way.
Sex scenes. He gets mad and accuses her of sleeping with every single one of her co-stars. It became a cycle of that, a control as well, emotional abuse as you go. But what's also significant in that is the property damage. And that's a hard one.
That's his own property.
Able to escape when he's claiming that he's such a
breaking your own shit is not violence against another person. It can scare them, but I don't think it constitutes violence against them.
Lampshades, on clothing, on countertops. In Australia, when you heard Ben talk about Australia, he wrote the third day as Amber comes out after she's barricaded herself and gone through a lot, and I'll back up on that in a minute.
The hostage situation. The Real Stu 4K. Hey, welcome to the channel. Great to have you here. Oh my God, I went back to the protective order. Pictures of her and can't believe no one sees. There's a sign saying the court will be closed Monday, and she's laughing on May 28th when she's out in. I didn't notice that, but yeah, we do know that she specifically went there with the paparazzi on that day when her husband was in England and couldn't do anything about it.
Potatoes spread across the top. He's written along the wall of the staircase going down all kinds of nasty things about her. And Billy Bob Thornton, the last one she was in a co-star with. And
yes, he's got a photo online with his ex. She's naked and she's only covering her naughty bits.
He's written on the lampshades downstairs. And then he's got more on the mirrors. And then on top of it, you've got all the broken glass everywhere, and you've got the liquor everywhere.
Oh yeah, and she claimed she was slipping on the glass with her feet. She was being drugged through the glass. And there's no evidence, no doctor's reports, no pictures, nothing. She went on the red carpet the next day after being dragged through a bunch of broken glass. And she was talking about, oh, of all days I had to wear a backless dress. Where's the fucking paparazzi pictures? Where's the pictures? I mean, even if she didn't take pictures of these alleged incidents, paparazzi was there the entire time. Where's the paparazzi pictures? Okay, I can tell when I'm getting excited because my voice goes up to here. I need to relax and get the voice back down where it belongs. All right. Yeah, there's no paparazzi pictures of any of this. Not a single paparazzi picture that I'm aware of that shows any bruising, any swelling, any scrapes, scars, scratches, or anything contemporaneous to these incidents she's describing. And again, the makeup expert that Andrew had on Legal Mindset earlier today, she was saying that even if she used this magical mystery amica cream, it wouldn't cover them. And she would have to have an amazing understanding of blending makeup to cover these bruises and these things she's talking about. Max Murray says, in the absence of any observations by medical staff, yeah, I haven't seen any medical reports yet. Helped a lawyer pal in a divorce case. Client recounted crying and denying injuries before the doc retrieved records. Had suspicion of DV, court agreed. Courts tend to be sympathetic. Especially like jurors. Jurors tend to be sympathetic of violence victims, alleged violence victims. And I mean, to a certain extent, maybe you have to be, but. And this is a thing that we lawyers say that I don't know if it really kind of is something that the average person can agree with or not, but the mantra is it's better that one innocent person go free than, I mean, it's better that one guilty person go free than 100 innocent person be convicted, or vice versa. It's better that 100 guilty people go free than one innocent person be convicted. Lawyers tend to focus on the law, and people tend to focus, the average juror, the ignorant slob, as my tort professor called them, tend to focus on the emotional and practical and life experience aspects of things. And when I was in third year of law school, we have a third year practice rule, which means that you can go and work for a law firm or another client. I worked for the public defender's office in Salt Lake City, Utah, for part of my internship, my third year. And we'd have we were allowed to practice and make arguments in court and whatnot. And we would be overseen by a lawyer. And there was it was a mock trial situation where we would, the jury weren't aware that it was a mock trial, but we knew it was. And they agreed to have the cameras in the courtroom, in the jury deliberations, which never happened. So this was a purely mock trial, like a fake trial situation where we were doing. And the jury, we got to see as law students what juries consider when they're doing their deliberation. And I remember just being absolutely horrified when one of the ladies in this mock trial we were doing literally said, well, I've watched a lot of Matlock. And for those of you who like, Matlock was like one of these old lawyer shows, like Andy Griffith was. I watched a lot of Matlock episodes, and I know that this is what Matlock would do. And we were like, holy fuck. This woman is basing her arguments on a television lawyer series. Yeah, what the juries do and what the juries think about is much different than what the lawyers or the judges would think about. And Mario Batali, the celebrity chef, he was just acquitted of indecent assault and battery charges a couple of days ago. He made a very smart decision. He could have had a jury trial, which I think probably would have gone very bad for him because of these Me Too things and other things. He let the judge decide the facts, the law, and the verdict. And the judge said that there was not enough evidence because the judge is thinking from a lawyerly perspective. Did they meet the legal burden of proof? Where juries tend to be more human about it. So I am concerned about what the jury will do in this case. Let's see. How far are we on here? Zack Snyder. We got a list of movies. She was naked in Zack Snyder's. She was naked in Justice League. I remember being like, I don't remember her being like naked in The Stand. I remember like being mostly naked in The Stand, which like her character in The Stand is so close to this situation. I do until I don't. I haven't seen that, so I don't know. Johnny Osprey says, I'm not sure what's worse, her asking in The Stand or acting on The Stand. Okay, so far Johnny Osprey wins the comment of the day. That's a good, solid comment. My lord, the woman can't act to save her fucking life. Okay, Nessie, I agree with you there. Max Mura says, it's sad to say, but North Korea propaganda, creative, amazing narratives, and Photoshop are better level than age and her lawyers. Are you paying attention to Kim Jong-un? Margaritas are not gay. Margarita count, we're almost to the bottom of the mega pint. Holy crap. I'm going to officially say from this point on out, I'm probably not responsible for anything that comes out of my mouth. I'm going to go into a Johnny Depp blackout, and you'll find me in the bathroom going, for like 4 minutes straight. Nessie Gardner remembers Matlock. I'm sorry. You're old. You're old. Yeah, it's like I was saying, like at the end, Mario Batali is acquitted of all of this. He's acquitted of the indecent assault and battery. And then he just like leans over and kisses the female lawyer. And she literally just kind of goes, not the best move, Mario. That wasn't really very smart. Real Stu 4K. She has 25 different movies with sexual or sex content in it. Yeah. I may or may not have done a Google video search. Oh, my cigar's out. I can't even take a draw on the cigar for dramatic effect. But yeah, okay. I've checked it out just to see what she was actually doing.
It's just, and then he's urinated, tried to urinate messages to her. That's the Johnny Depp. That's the other side. Now you're going to hear that Amber tried to protect him all the way through. She didn't want the public to know this. She didn't want his kids to know this.
Bullshit.
So she didn't tell people about it. So let's go back. The first event that I told you.
That is totally Lady Elaine Fairchild haircut. God, it like freaks me out.
Because Amber was going to her therapist, Bonnie Jacobs. And Bonnie Jacobs has therapy notes.
Where's Bonnie
of her
Jacobs?
sessions with Amber.
Where's
And
her
in those
testimony?
therapy notes,
Why isn't she a witness?
Chronicles the first time that Amber tells her that Johnny hit her. And it goes through into 2012, 2013, 2014. And you will see, and you will hear from Bonnie Jacobs.
Okay, so they're going to call her?
You know, this is a cycle of violence. This is a cycle of abuse.
Let's see if they actually call.
You've
Oh,
been
I guess I
able
can
to.
delete this
You
here.
need to stand up for yourself. Amber will testify about how Johnny would get so drunk and so drugged out that he would vomit all over himself and worse, lose control of his bowels.
I like his expression. Like,
And you'll see Bonnie Jacobs in these notes saying, don't do that. You're enabled. Don't do it. Leave him there. But what would happen was his handlers would then take care of him if she left.
Johnny Osprey. So what she's saying is that Johnny
That's
tried to
the
send
story
her
you're gonna hear on
email.
that. Let me just tell
Well,
you about a few of the events, and I'm going to start.
She
in
did a lot of
Australia.
shit
That's the
posting in
three-day
bed,
hostage.
apparently.
She gets there. Now,
This
you will
hostage
hear
thing.
Mr.
Fuck
Depp
me.
testify under oath that for 15 to 18 months before the March 2015 Australia event, when he's there filming, that he's been sober, clean and sober. Then you'll see all the text messages for the last 18 months in which he's scoring drugs, in which you'll hear testimony. From
He
people
was
in which
scoring the
he's
drugs for
got drugs
Amber in some of those
and-
texts.
And, you know, taking all kinds of different drugs. The whole time. He doesn't get clean and sober. But he claims that he was clean and sober, that she came there. This
Getting
is a
clean
month
and sober
after
is a
they
process.
just got married.
And okay, God, I'm so sorry to stop this again, but like my brother, who was a severe drug addict at one point, who eventually got himself clean from drugs and became an alcoholic, and then eventually got himself clean from alcohol. He was always saying, "Yeah, quitting is easy." He said, "Yeah, I've stopped like 19 times. It's a process. It's a process you go through."
She flew in from filming The Danish Girls. She's there, and he claims that he was just sitting there calmly, and she was haranguing him. So he took a shot glass of vodka, and when he did that, she got mad, took the bottle of vodka, was 8 to 10 feet, about where I am from you, and hurled it at him, and it happened to just take off the bottom part of his finger.
Yep.
And then he says she came and burned a hole in his cheek.
I didn't burn a hole in his cheek. Just
It's gonna
put
be
the.
that he self-mutilated on a number of occasions and burned himself in the cheek, and also
They've made allegations. I don't think
family
they've
and
proved
everything.
any
You're gonna hear from
testimony
the
that
experts
says that.
testifying about this finger injury and how fantastic this version is. But the other part
Oh,
of
I
it,
tend to
we
believe
did Marilyn
him
Manson
over
for
her.
the week before, scoring on cocaine. You'll see text messages of him getting it from his handlers, the cocaine and the liquor, and you'll hear it so much before that. But Amber gets there, and instead what he does is he takes 8 to 10 tablets of ecstasy almost immediately. And the next 3 days are just a cycle of very, very, very.
I would probably have to do E if I had to spend
activity by
a
him.
significant amount of time
Amber
with her.
keeps
as well.
trying to calm him down. She tries to get him to eat. She tries to get him to sleep. She tries to do these things, and he would just he was at times delusional, paranoid. He would be mad at somebody else, then he'd be mad at her. And by the way, we'll talk about the prenup, but he called her lawyer, who she had because she wanted to give him a prenup, and then they got married too quickly, so she was going to give him
Get the
a
prenup, men
She
and
called
women.
the lawyer from Australia.
You may not have
Called her a
anything
bitch
now, but
and
you will
fired
have
her.
something later.
You'll hear the testimony from the lawyer on that. That's the type of.
Max
man
Moore
he
says a
is.
Clintonian query. How do you smoke a cigar without forgetting not to
But now let me
inhale?
tell you that's-
A long time ago, I'd occasionally
Her
partake, but in the
marriage,
morning I
where
wake
she
up
had a
realizing I
lawyer,
was
she was
oozing smoke out of my
cooperating
pores.
completely.
For
So
me,
as you go through,
I
those
never
3 days
smoked
of Australia,
cigarettes.
Some pretty
So I
horrendous things
never
happen to her.
inhaled.
He rips off her
Uh,
nightgown. He has her jammed
I
up
smoked a couple
against
of my
a
mother's
bar.
cigarettes
He
when I
has
was
hurled
8,
bottles and
and
bottles at
she
her.
educated
He
me
has
on
dragged
why
her
that was a
across the
bad
floor
idea
on the broken
by
bottles
making
and the
me
liquor.
take my
He
own
has
switch
punched
off
her.
the
He has
tree.
kicked her. He
I,
tells her he's going to fucking kill her.
but
He fucking hates her.
I never inhale. I
Fine.
never took cigarettes.
And then-
Even with my, like, I have a lot of Russian friends, and they're big into hookahs and smoking the hookah pipes.
That's the Johnny Depp.
I choke like a
we hear
bitch
about
when
in this
when I inhale. So I've never had the
After
problem
that,
or desire
Amber
of
goes to the
inhaling.
airport, and what does she do? She buys a book by a psychiatrist who's talking about couples therapy. She's already trying to figure out a way to fix it again.
Now,
Fix
where did
this
she pee if she
marriage
just
going
pooped on
a month
the
old,
beds?
and her husband has just done these horrible.
Put that
things.
right high up on the list of things I don't want to
Now
think
they
about.
go back to LA. He's got to get his finger fixed, so he has to stop filming Pirates 5. They get there, and there's another fight in just 2 weeks from there. He's still using it at this point. He's
I've heard
getting
even
drunk.
prenup can be broken in
Amber
liberal courts. Yeah, it's
finds
pretty difficult, but
on a
if you
TV
can
screen
prove
at
that
night,
it was
she
the
finds
legitimate
pictures
intent
of another woman
of
taking pictures
the
of a woman
contracting
and
parties
text
at the time,
messages
it's
which
pretty
show that
solid.
He's clearly having an affair. She gets extremely mad. Amber can be jealous too. She can get angry. She's half his age, and she's
Half his age,
defiant,
Mr.
and
Groomer.
I'm not gonna
That's
say she's
bullshit.
perfect. She was mad as can be when she saw that, and she confronted him. The two of them were.
But she has said she's perfect. She hasn't admitted to being
happened to be in the house.
wrong in any way, shape, or form in relation
She
to
was
this
stunned.
trial.
She literally was awakened to come and try to resolve this fight between the two of them. While she's there, Johnny starts hitting Amber. And Whitney ends up getting in between them, and Amber thinks that Johnny's going to throw her down, push her down the stairs because he's in that position. So Amber
I was
actually
wondering where
gets
the
up
toilet
and
paper went
punches
after the
Johnny
bed
in
incident.
the face.
You
She
people
tells
are
us the
sick.
only time she has ever
And I
laid
love you
one
for
on him, in an aggressive manner. But it's after he's already been hitting her, and it's in defense of her sister.
Hey, Hurricane Rex, I really liked your
That
camping in
time,
Korea video.
she
Thanks.
actually did have an impact.
She'll
testify.
Well, I was planning on going to my
Time
friend's
they were
steak
in their
restaurant and sort of filming a
and she
video of
said,
like
she's
having
almost
fun
half
at a
his
good
size.
Korean place
So
where you
he-
just
you
like
know,
go to
she
have
said,
great
"If
steak
I
and get
pushed him,
drunk.
he
But
doesn't move. He
I've had a
pushes me, I
liter
go
of
flying across the room.
of
There
margaritas
isn't
so far.
any,
I don't even know if I'm gonna get out of the house. But
ability
yeah,
on
thanks
her
for liking that.
to be the abuser.
Appreciate it.
What she'll also tell you is it took her a while to ever fight back. That many times before that, she would do what she did when she was breaking the horses. She wouldn't show fear. She wouldn't show pain. She would look at him. She would just be defiant, and all it would do is piss him off.
And then she put the bridle in his mouth and chomp on the bit and pull it until he gave
from
up.
Trying to be nice, trying to
Amber
get away
Turd is
from
a
him.
fecal
She would
terrorist.
throw things in his way to get him from running after her.
Chaucerian
She
fraud,
would
you are
try
a
to,
sick, sick
pull her back. She
individual.
would use her hands and
Thank
legs,
you for
and
that
she would go
comment.
and try to fight him. She'd run into a room and try to barricade and push his hands and everything out of there. She'd try all those things, but she couldn't figure out what could get him to calm down. I'm going to fast forward now to the next one, and that is
If we didn't have the internet to educate us on the net not safe for work side of things, maybe at least half of the male jurors would believe that no woman, especially age, could have shat a turd that size. Thanks, internet. It's the curse of the internet. It tells you things that you need to know and tells you a lot of shit, literally and figuratively, that you didn't want to know.
I'm going to jump you up to after the stair incident, and Johnny had to get surgery on his finger. That's the longest period of time
It
he
did.
stayed sober. It was almost 3 months. You're going to hear that he has never been through rehab, even though he has been a lifelong drug addict and alcoholic. Never has he gone through a rehab plan. Instead, there's twice that he went to some New York hospital and did a cleansing. One time it was for 3 days, and one time it was for 5 days, and that's it. He's never made any effort whatsoever to get sober.
I would argue that's
drugs.
that. I would
This
argue.
particular time
God, this
he
doesn't
did.
matter. I would argue that going through these cleansing things is an attempt. People make a lot. I mean, drugs are a vicious thing. I've seen it destroy people in my family. Even Robin Williams was like, "Oh, cocaine, anything that makes me blind and impotent, give me more." That was a classic Robin Williams line. You try, but it has a vicious hold. And like I said, I've never done any illegal drugs because watching my older brother did it freaked me out. But I dated a girl in university that was a cocaine addict, and she was telling me, she's like, don't ever let anyone tell you that cocaine is a bad drug. She said, the problem is it's too good of a drug. She said, you never think more clearly, you never think more focused, more laser thinking. You're never in a state of greater clarity than when you're on cocaine. And then you come down off the cocaine high and you feel like a muddled, addled, muddy thoughted piece of shit, and you want to have that laser focus again, so you do more, and then as you build up the tolerance, you have to do more and more and more. Her argument was that cocaine is so good that it's bad, and I don't have any personal frame of reference, so I don't know, but it made a lot of sense to me.
Almost 3 months, and you'll see the text messages. We're going to take you through this whole story and all the text messages and all the emails and all the testimony that you're going to get. So fast forward to December 2015. That was one of the worst. Australia.
Brandon says, I would love to see an all-female tie jury on this. The trial would have been shut down right now. Explain that comment.
He starts dragging her
I don't know why that would make a difference.
Punching her, tearing her hair out. At one point, she gets up and looks at him, and he headbutts her, and she gets 2 black eyes from it. Then he goes and drags her up the stairs.
Turrican Rex says your dogs are awesome. I love my little English bulldogs, my little fat
pigs. And he continues to punch her, telling her he's fucking hating her and he's fucking going to kill her. And he's got his boot stuck in the bed frame as he's doing it. And the force of what he's doing to her causes the bed frame to splinter.
Turrican Rex, I would love to be on Legal Bites. I would love the bump, but more than that, I would love to talk with the other law tubers about this. But nobody knows I exist yet other than Andrew.
Subconscious, she doesn't know. But Johnny was gone at that point, and her friend saying, are you okay? Are you okay? You'll see the pictures of all of this. You'll see the pictures of the hair. Imagine how much that must hurt. The hair that's out on the ground. And you'll see the pictures of Amber. Now, here's the ironic thing. The next day, she's got to be on the jail.
The hair on the ground. Like, there was one picture of like a clump of hair. And I looked at that, and I didn't see like any hair follicles where it looked like hair had been ripped out of a head. I didn't see any hair follicles. To me, it just seemed like someone cut a clump of hair and put it on the ground and took a picture of it. Again, the metadata, does this have anything to do with like contemporary? Was it around this time? What does it show? Her lack of evidence frightens.
You can see the text messages. She's not sure if she can go. She's worried. She's got 2 black eyes. She's got a split lip. She's got bruising. She's got her hair missing.
Just cause, welcome here. Like we'll get you there, Dr. Lobotnik. Don't like what I want is I have 0 computer editing skills. I need like a video editor who can make me like a Dr. Robotnik theme song from the original Sonic the Hedgehog game, like soundtrack, and put that. I would love like a little intro video.
He was in New York. She texted him and said, Johnny beat me up really good this time. Can you help? And he says, I was filming something. I stopped. I got the first flight out of there. I'm flying from New York back to LA.
Brandon says, my sister-in-law is Thai. You're familiar with the nuances of Asian culture, but Thai women, especially North, they don't put up with this BS. I've got it.
He said somebody touched her and she flinched on the show. He said, that's not like Amber. He got there. They hadn't cleaned up all the mess. He sees the hair. He sees the splinters. He sees...
I'm getting some weird phone call. Let's take a phone call live on air.
A good friend of Johnny's as well. He'll testify about his friendship with Johnny. But he
for fuck's sake,
on that one and said,
Korea is going through local elections now, and that was a robocall from one of the candidates.
Now, there were several people that were supposed to go to Johnny's Island, Bahamas Island, in December for Christmas.
I want my own island. I would just go there and live forever and never leave it. Get away from people.
Who loved Johnny, and unfortunately, her father used to drink and do drugs with Johnny a lot. And he was also going to take Rocky, her friend who lived next door in a penthouse, and her fiance, and Rocky's parents. Imagine being able to go to a Bahamas.
The head of Skadden and Arb's Tokyo real estate law practice was a major cola fiend.
They all were so upset.
Says Max Murrah. Mark Branson, 2007, forgot he still had a baggie after deplaying in Brisbane, panic swallowed and died. Dude.
but he talked Amber into going. He guilted her into going. I'm going to be with my
Wow.
kids. Please come. I'll be better. I'm going to get better. Amber went. And then he ends up assaulting her even there and sexually assaults her even there. Now, you'll see a video from them of the Bahamas, the place that they stayed in on his island. And the video just conveniently leaves out the wardrobe in the bathroom where he committed the assault. It just goes around and makes it look like it's a one room and his kids were there.
Conveniently, I mean, why would you videotape the bathroom and the
You'll see
wardrobe
pictures.
if you were like making a
Then
video?
from then
of
on,
this,
things
whatever.
really were bad for Amber, and she was really considering leaving him at this point. And she was talking to her friends and confiding. You'll see medical records. And in February 2016, I told you you'll see that video. That same night before the video, he called Io, Till It Right, and left him a voicemail message that he said was just absolutely delusional. It was crazy. He was pretending like he was the property management. It was just.
Oh, we've all drunk texted people.
And then
We
the next day we have.
everybody's done that. Everybody's made drunk phone calls, drunk texts, done things that they're not proud of when they're under the
Then
influence
we get
of
to April
things.
30th, or April 21st, 2016. Amber's 30th birthday party. She was going to turn 30 the next day. Pretty big event. Her friends had a tape that they put together of everybody giving her tributes. Johnny doesn't participate. They have a dinner and a party for her that night. Johnny says, "Oh, I have a business meeting at 7 p.m. I'll be there after that." Well, what kind of business meeting do you need to have at 7 p.m. when your wife turns 30?
What kind of business meeting do you have to have at 7 p.m. when your wife turns 30? A real world business event? I mean, what you know, like the women I date and things, I always tell them that, I mean, and he's like way more celebrity status than than I could ever imagine being. But even me, as the humble little lawyer practicing in Busan, Korea, well, I don't practice. I consult in Busan, Korea. I have meetings that go after 7 p.m. because here in Korea, when it's 7 p.m. at night, it's morning, 8, 9, 10 o'clock in England. And we do a lot of international things. So I have to be available. And then shit happens. Emergency situations happen. Urgent situations happen. It is so common that any woman that I date or I go out with, I tell her, it's like, okay, this is the time that we're scheduled to meet. But I plan on being there. I intend on being there at that time. But if something goes wrong at work, please understand, I might have to be late. And so, I mean, that's a thing. The world doesn't revolve around your wife's or your girlfriend's or your husband's or your boyfriend's birthday schedule. And again, if you want to go even further, why would he want to hang around with her friends?
That's Johnny, right? And he can't say that it was an important financial one because he fired his financial manager the month before when, as you heard from Ben, he was blaming him for all his financial problems. So he's the problem. So
this he says, I apparently texted someone in my sleep when I was going to college. Shit, I've texted people in my sleep a few weeks ago. Or if I wasn't asleep, I literally have no memory of texting them.
Hide the Bible from Amber.
Max Murray, I wish someone would get drunk text Elaine and Rottenborn, especially if they're losing their hammer turds over how bad the case is going. I would imagine a substantial amount of booze is being consumed this week by them to dull the pain of how this is going for them.
And this is the final straw that leads up to the DVTR.
Brandon, want me to tell you what the deal is? Tell us what the deal is, Brandon. Brandon, enlighten us.
He says he's coming over to get some clothes. He's going to go out on tour. She says, okay. He comes over, and his mother died the day before, and he's already in a state. He's been drinking. He's clearly high, and he comes in, and he's got on his mind this obsession that when she, on her birthday, go back to her birthday, the next day she and her friends went to Coachella, but his housekeeper had come in to clean after that.
If Amber wasn't JD occupied?
The housekeeper had found some feces on the bed and had been upset about it.
Oh, wait. This is one of my favorite parts of the testimony. the matter, or shall we say the fecal matter of what happened in the bedroom. This is the most fucked up, absurd testimony.
Taken a picture and sent it to him. So all of a sudden, a month later, he's got it in his head that Amber has conspired with her friends to defecate on the bed. It's human, not dog, even though they got 2 dogs and one of them has major problems. You'll hear about Boo.
My mother and father, my parents had Yorkies. Yorkies do not shit that much on the bed. Do we really want to hear this, or do we not? What the hell? I'm not monetized, so I have zero monetization to lose from this. Yorkies, they have these long, thin little shit. That was a pile of shit on the bed. A Yorkie would not have made that particular shit. I can testify as a Yorkie expert that was not Yorkie shit on the bed.
And pistol. And somehow Amber was doing this so he would get back there and find it, even though he had no intention of coming back, and even though the housekeeper was there. And he won't lose it. He won't get rid of it. He's just obsessed with it. Then he decides that it's Io Tillett Wright who did it, even though Io wasn't at the birthday party and wasn't even in town.
Brent says, want me to tell you what the deal is? I said, yes. He said, nope, I hate jail. Coward.
And she says, this is what Johnny says. Can you please just calm him down? Tell him this isn't true. Tell him we didn't do it. We don't have a conspiracy.
Yeah, the pile of shit was like about the size of a Yorkie.
And you'll hear from Io, he'll say, Amber's fecal phobia. I mean, she can't even, she's so embarrassed about that.
Like a cigarillo, not even a cigar. Yes, I will agree. Yorkies, they shit cigarillos, not cigars.
That was the biggest mistake, because that triggered his anger.
You guys are sick. I love you.
He started hitting Amber. He grabbed the cell phone from her, wound it up and bashed it into her face. And you will see the pictures, you will see the bruise there, and you'll see the form of it there. Now, I was very, very upset. He's worried because he knows about the December 15, 2015. And he says, Amber, get out of there. Get out of there. Are you safe? Get out of there. As Johnny's storming around.
Where's the witness?
And he calls Rocky, who lives next door.
Where's the witness?
And then he calls 911. And it's not clear, whether Amber said call 911 or he said call 911, but he calls 911. But he's in New York, and he's genuinely concerned for her safety. So he calls 911 there, and he calls a friend in LA and says, please call 911 and just tell them this. So they get somebody there so we can get.
Now, I've seen a couple of YouTube analysis of this where this Io character was calling from New York and he thought they wouldn't believe him. So they had somebody that was on site, her friend Rachel, I believe was her name, call 911 and make another report. I mean, this whole thing is like this whole setup. And this is when the police came. This is when the two police officers, the female police officer and the male officer came. They showed the body cam footage of them going there and saying that there's nothing here. There's no evidence of any incident. This whole Io making the police call and this Rachel person making the police 911 call. This is a weird section.
Somebody fast. I don't know what's going on. So the police are called twice, essentially. And now here's what happens next. Johnny goes around and he trashes the apartment before he leaves. He
breaks his shit. Has nothing to do with
her. Does it a lot. And you'll see a picture of him in the elevator afterwards, leaving with his bodyguards, and he's a little agitated there. And the police are called. You will see pictures of Amber with metadata on them, both before, during, and after the police officers are there. But what happens is Amber calls.
That's the only one with metadata, and it doesn't really show anything. It doesn't show the editing. It's just a basic time and date stamp. That is not the full metadata.
Her attorney, the one that she had consulted after the December 15 event. And the attorney says, if you press charges, they'll arrest him. And Amber says, I can't have that happen. I don't want his kids to know about this. I don't want the public to know. I can't have that.
Brandon says, okay, that was an MPBI joke.
She refuses.
I've had like a literal picture of margaritas at this point.
I'm not going to cooperate.
What is MPBI?
But her friend, Rocky, who's fiance
Let me know.
there, Josh at this point, he takes them around and shows one of the police officers all the property damage around the house as well. And the police officers say to him, look, she's got the red mark on there. You know, if you just give us the name, we'll go get him. And he says, "No, I can't. She won't let me." So they leave. Now, here's what happens and creates all of the, noise here that you're going to have to deal with. So the police officers don't make an incident report. They don't take a report. They don't document the property damage. They don't document the facial damage. Instead, they go out and they write on their CAD, that's their little system in there, they write verbal dispute only, victim uncooperative. That's their language for, we don't have to write a report.
And that's their language for the victim was uncooperative, didn't want to make a statement, we saw nothing. That's what that is. Max Moore says, was this incident prior to the time H and her friends, according to the testimony of Catherine James, former EA, said that they all met at Chateau Marmont, which seemed weird. I don't really know.
You'll see that the police officers have another one later that night, and they put verbal dispute only. That's their magic language.
It's not their magic language, it's that. They saw nothing. If the police officers saw something, they have an obligation to put that in their report. She didn't detail any of this.
Domestic violence, calls that they take, they're not going to, this is one that they figure it's gone. Now, the other police officers come 2 hours later. They've cleaned up the place at this point. They don't know that these police officers are arriving, but when they do arrive there, they try to discourage them even from coming in. Josh answers the door, says, no, the other police officers were already here. And he says, and they say, no, but we just have to see her. And they have body cams, by the way, so you'll see the body cam footage of this.
And we saw nothing.
So they go through and they do that. And one of the significant things is you'll see on the CAD that the two police officer sets are communicating with each other. And that first set says, I don't think she's going to change her mind. And they know who the officers were the first time because they say officer signs. You'll hear this and you'll see it in the body cam footage. So they go through. Amber says, no, everything's fine. You can see on there.
Amber Heard said everything's fine. Go through and check.
What's so significant is what they have done with this in creating, and that's part of the counterclaim. And what their version of reality is that Amber calls the cops. Then they don't see any injury, so they mess up the place, splash a little wine, and then call another set of cops. Does that sound like the situation here? No.
Yes.
No. And
Yes.
It's really important to look at the evidence and think
Yes,
about
it does,
this.
actually.
You'll hear from many, actually, I don't know.
The first police didn't see anything, so they had to make something for the second group of
LAPD
cops.
police officers and
Yeah.
experts who will say those police officers, even when she declined to cooperate, should have taken a report. They should have documented it. That was police policy. So when faced with this big public, DVRO and all of the publicity later, now they go back to the police officers and say, hey, wait a second, you didn't take a report. You said it was a verbal dispute only. They're stuck. If
They're
all
not
of that
stuck.
was
She
true
didn't give a
and they admitted
report.
It was true, then they violated policy by not doing the report because they were supposed to take a report. So the police officers.
She didn't give a statement.
chose
What are
the
they
other
supposed to
and
do?
said,
Make
"No,
up a
no,
fucking
no."
statement?
But you're going to watch it. You're going to see it in real time. You're going to see it on metadata. So Amber goes to get the domestic violence TRO. You're going to see the letter that her lawyer wrote to Johnny Depp.
There's no bottle in the old
telling
coin purse.
them that's what she would have to she was going to
Completely
do.
fabricated.
But give
There
her an
was
opportunity
yes, there was
here to be able to
no
resolve it, to get
there
a
was no
mediator,
report to the
just make sure that
police
she's safe, that she can
of
stay in
a
their
coin
residence
purse
until
being mentioned. But
they figure
the
things
coin
out.
purse
She
apparently the
can
coin
go
purse
through
incident
protocols, they
apparently
figure it out,
happened in
some
Australia.
attorney's fees, whatever.
That's
You're gonna
different
see
than the
letter.
New York thing.
And
Oh wait.
so they knew, and it says right in there, she's going to go in on Friday. They chose not to go. They keep saying ex parte, but they chose not to appear, and they knew she was going to appear. Well, Amber didn't call TMZ, but somebody called TMZ to take all those photos that day.
Amber probably did.
Now, you also heard them say that all kinds of people saw Amber that week, and she didn't have any bruises on her face.
She just looks so cold and
Well,
dead.
let me show you this. This
Show
is
us this.
what Amber carried in her purse for the entire relationship.
Ah, Amica cream. This is Amica country.
With Johnny Depp. She's an actor. Do you honestly think she would have left her apartment ever without makeup? Do you think that she ever would have wanted other people to see her bruises and her cuts? This was what she used. She became very adept at it. And you're going to hear the testimony from.
I urge you, if you didn't come here from Andrew at Legal Mindsets stream with the makeup expert, this whole Amica cream bullshit, where she explains why Amica cream would not have covered this. Why this particular cream would not have covered anything. And also, as everybody knows at this point, this fucking product did not exist at the time she was in her relationship with Johnny Depp. If I remember correctly, this came into existence in 2017 after they were done, and I was snickering because Max Mura, a Hello Kitty vibrator. Okay, people over in this part of the world, Korea, Japan, just do a Google search for a particular adult marital aid product. Just do a Google search for Hello Kitty, and you will see what Max is talking about. The Hello Kitty vibrator is an actual thing. The Japanese and Koreans are serious Hello Kitty fans, and there's actually a vibrator that is product marked as Hello Kitty. Just search it. Not going to happen here. On your own free time, of your own free will, search Hello Kitty.
Amber about how she had to mix the different colors for the different days of the
Shame on you, Brandon. Shame on
as they
you.
developed in the different coloring, and how she would use these to touch those up to be able
Amicus
to
Curie cream, Johnny Depp with the law bomb.
Person that Amber didn't even leave her bedroom without having foundation on. And one of the people that was at
This is Amica country.
He said she had makeup on and it would have covered that bruise.
No, it wouldn't have.
That's the testimony on that.
The expert says no, it
Now,
would not have covered it.
Let me talk about the divorce just for a moment.
Okay, talk about
so
the
they go
divorce.
through, they have
I'm
the
out
2
of
months of trying
margaritas.
to resolve
Fuck
the
me.
divorce.
We've
Ben
been doing
already
this.
told you
I
that
expected this
they
to be like
signed
an
a joint
hour.
Statement in which Mr. Depp
We're almost
admits
3
that
hours
she
into
did not
this.
make any of these
I apologize,
allegations
but I also thank all
falsely
13 of you who are
and
here at the
for
moment.
financial gain. But they brought up the donations, so I want to talk to you about the donations for a moment.
Yeah.
Now, here's the story.
This is
Amber didn't have a prenup. She didn't have a postnup.
True.
She was more than willing to do that. But
Fuck me.
as I
Bullshit.
told you, Mr. Depp fired her lawyers and said, only till death. That's the only way we're going to.
Misrepresentation.
We don't need a postnup. We don't need a prenup. That's Johnny. It's true his advisors were all telling him, get one. And she said, I'll get one. And she hired a lawyer. But anyway, she didn't.
I think I figured out why Elaine
So
kept
what
saying
you can
Amica
hear is
instead
that
of
meant
Arnica. If you
no
squint
matter
your eyes
what-
and try to
whether
blur your
it's
vision,
abuse,
R and N.
adultery,
Maybe it's an Asian thing too. I
irreconcilable
don't know.
differences, abandonment, doesn't matter. She's entitled to 50% of everything during that marriage. Well, he did Pirates 5 and he did 2 other movies during that time.
Well, see,
And
that's
you
the
see that
thing.
he made
She knows he's entitled to
$65
50% of everything that occurs after the marriage.
After that
The
is
prenup
32.5.
would basically say,
Amber
whatever
didn't
you
want
bring
it.
to this, you
You'll
get.
see
Whatever
a
I
letter-
bring to this,
you'll
I
see
get.
an email from her lawyer.
She didn't want it.
forwarded
There's no
on
fucking
to
way
her
she wanted
agent,
it
who
on the
became
prenup.
Johnny's agent later. Saying,
And there would be
I want you
no
to sign this 'cause we're
conceivable
entitled to a
legal
whole lot more than
reason
7
on
million.
this fucking
And
earth
I don't
why
want you to
Johnny
come
Depp
visit
would
that.
want
I
a
want you to come
postnup.
back and sue me for malpractice. That's what her lawyer tells her. And then her lawyer says, I offered them even less than I demanded less than they offered. In other words, the 7 million was less than Mr. Depp's team was even offering to her. And she said, I just want to be.
I told him to come and join, but he's going off somewhere else today. I'll be on his stream probably Tuesday night to do
So she said, I'm going to donate all
pre-trial,
7
a
million
pre-hearing
of this
thing.
to charity.
Yeah,
After
I extended the
after
offer to him, but he's out doing something else.
What
today.
happened was the first, and by the way, the 7 million was paid out over time.
It was not bull fucking shit. Wait till the ACLU guy comes on the stand and says,
So
no, nothing ever
his
was
business
really
manager,
paid.
Ed Wang, you'll
Nothing
see the letter.
significant anyway.
He
A couple
sends
hundred.
the first
Like 100,000 and
out of
500
the 7
from
million
Elon.
to each of them, and says, this is a pledge towards the 3.5 million that Amber's donating. And she'll be paying.
In Andrew's defense, he's not on Hooker Hill. I took him to Hooker Hill for his first deal here.
That was the admission at the beginning.
He's actually going
There
out
were
to
different
a
children
really
hospital
historical
and the
part of
ACLU
Korea today.
That they assumed this was a pledge paid over a period of time because that's what they do because of tax deductions and things of that nature. So Amber she makes a $250,000 payment to Children's Hospital. Then she also makes a $250,000 payment to Art of Elysium, which is another charity that she worked for, and used to feed and used to do a lot of arts work with the Children's Hospital. She pays $350,000 to the ACLU. Now, in addition to that, she also was dating Elon Musk by this time. You'll find out that Mr. Depp is obsessed with Elon Musk, but she's dating him,
He's
so
obsessed.
she gives $500,000.
Look at Johnny's
to both of
expression
those
here.
charities in her honor.
He's
Now,
not
she doesn't
obsessed.
claim
He
that's
thinks it's
part
pretty
of the
funny.
$7 million. But what happens is that she makes her payments up through 2018. Mr. Depp sues her March 1, 2019 in this litigation. She can't afford right now to be making those pledges. She's got to defend herself.
She
But
made the
she has
pledge,
every intention of
settlement money. She
continuing
should
to
have
make
paid
those
it.
payments. She has
Bullshit.
been a lifelong person who has served
Max
charities.
Mercer, at some point, Ace
used
learned she
to
would be a beneficiary in his
volunteer at
will.
Children's
He had to
Hospital
go to
3
his
times a week.
kids. She
She's
wouldn't be
very
a
much
beneficiary to
that
his
kind
will.
of
He had to go to his
person, and
kids.
she intends
That
to.
increased the ape
And
shit
both-
level by
both
was it
ACLU
10,000
and
times, I
Children's
think?
Hospital
Yeah, you're
will
probably right.
tell you they have no reason to believe she won't be good on her pledges. There's nothing that required her to do a certain amount at a certain time, and she will give it to them.
But years
she
later,
gets to
you
afford
should
it.
have had that paid off, Amber.
Now, let me talk about the counterclaim for a minute,
Okay, talk about it.
and then.
Preach, Elaine. Preach,
I
Elaine
have to promise to
Fairchild.
let you go at some point, don't I?
And I promise to let you all go
So
at some
Mr.
point.
Depp
11 of you are
has
hanging on at this
decided,
point.
you heard from Ben.
Thanks,
You're
guys.
going to see some really, really terrible text messages from Johnny Depp on how he viewed Amber Heard.
I
He
think they're
calls her
pretty
some
funny, actually.
horrific names. But in the summer of 2016,
He called her
vowed-
horrific names? He said some
vowed
pretty
she's
funny
gonna
shit,
come
but I don't know if he called her
vows
horrific
she's going to
names.
suffer global humiliation. He says he's going to live in her and she will never forget him.
I don't remember those texts.
So in the summer of 2018, you heard Ms. Vasquez say he wants to clear his name. He can't be called a wife beater, et cetera. But an article, an op-ed appeared on the Sun
Max Mercer's
Times
before all the crazy
in
9/11 shit
They
used to
called
stay
him
on
like
Yongsan Air Base.
It
Wow.
was written by Dan Bolton, the CEO, or the
Once even climbed over the fence late at
chief
night.
editor
Unthinkable now.
of the Sun at the time.
Yeah,
And
Yongsan
he
doesn't
is
exist
writing
really
because
anymore. Now it's all
Johnny Depp
been
is being
transferred
cast
to
in
Pyeongtaek.
Fantastic Beasts 3. And so the article is, why is J.K. Rowling
Yes.
genuinely,
And this is really, really, really highly unusual that someone objects during statements. During opening statements. People just don't object during opening statements. You just let them ramble and you let them go on and let them say their piece. Okay, and then now people are like now they're shipping Amber Heard. I mean, fuck me. Johnny Depp and Camille Vasquez here. People are saying they're a couple, they're dating. That would be a ridiculously huge ethical violation if Camille was actually getting into Johnny at this point. Rumor has it, reports have it that Camille Vasquez has been in a long-term relationship with a real estate investor. As much as we would love to see those two get together, there's nothing to that. It's not credible. It's a ridiculous assertion. That would be a ridiculously huge violation of ethics. All right, let's catch up on some of these comments while we're here. Oh, there's only two to catch up on. When you're buying 50,000 of wine a month, those pesky donations need to slide. Yeah, I mean, I have this collection here behind me. That's my booze collection. My wine cabinet is up there. I probably spend a couple $100 a month on wine, and that's a ridiculous. I can't imagine spending 50 grand on wine.
let me back up a little bit. So you have heard from
State
Mr.
Department
Depp
Housing Compound was like
that
Middlebury.
They're
Yeah.
going to claim that Amber Heard abused
I really like your
Johnny
streams.
Depp.
You're entertaining,
You
informative. Keep
also
it
are
good.
hearing from
Turrican
them
Rex,
that he
thank you
says
so
that
much.
she cut off his finger.
Convince all of your
When
friends.
you look at
Introduce
the
your
text
friends to the
messages,
channel.
when you
Have them
look at
like
the
and
emails,
subscribe.
You will see.
Let's
that
keep
in
this going.
every
This
one
is
of
fun.
those,
I really
Mr.
enjoy
Depp
this, and I'm grateful
said
that
to
10 of you now,
Dr.
one of you has
Cooper,
dropped out.
to David Heard,
10 of you are
and
still
his
here.
father,
3 hours,
and to
well,
others.
2 hours and 43
I
minutes.
cut
into
off
this.
my finger. You will see that. He never, throughout the entire time he was married to Amber, ever claimed that she hit him. He never, ever, throughout the time he was married to Amber Heard, claimed that she cut off the finger.
Okay, now this really fries my shit. She's saying that he said, "Oh, I cut off my finger. I did." That's just something you say. You don't say, "Well, Amber Heard." You like, "Oh fuck," I cut off the end of my finger. You just say the meaning doesn't mean you actually took an object and sliced off the end of your finger. It's like the end of my finger no longer exists at the end of the finger where it belongs. It doesn't mean you actually went through and chopped off your own fucking finger. This is such a bullshit argument she's making. It's stupid, and that's one thing they've harped on, that he actually chopped off the end of his own finger. Saying, I cut the end of my finger off. That's just a normal thing you say.
Only 2 years later does he, for the very first time, start claiming she abused him and start claiming that she cut off the
Vegas Cecilia at
They
$500,
asked her to
$600 a
look
bottle
hard
too.
at the evidence,
I
and
don't
they
roll that high.
because the
Oh wait,
evidence
I
is
meant to
going to
take this
show that it never, ever came up before. Now, let's talk about the counterclaim for a few minutes. There's a few statements here.
okay. This is where
They've said,
he
why are you
claimed
suing
$50
Adam
million
Waldman? We
in
heard from
damages, and
Ben,
she basically claimed
that Adam
$100 million
Waldman didn't
in
come into
damages
to,
because he
Johnny
claimed
Depp's
50.
life until October 2016. He wasn't there for any of their marriage. He doesn't have any personal knowledge of their marriage. Everything he does is based on Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp used Adam Waldman as his agent, and you will see a bunch of texts where he's saying, yeah, man, he's going after these people. He's doing all this stuff for me. He's suing my business manager. He's suing the lawyer. He's going at, he's doing all this. He's also going to the press and making all kinds of statements about Amber Heard. And those statements are as follows. And
All right, what did he say to the press?
First. The first one is Adam Waldman, Depp's lawyer, said afterwards, Amber Heard and her friends in the media use fake sexual violence allegations as both a sword and a shield, depending on their needs. They have selected some of her sexual violence hoax facts as the sword, inflicting them on the public and Mr. Depp. Now, there isn't any sexual violence hoax. There isn't any hoax at all. But he's out there affirmatively.
Well, the jury will decide if there was a hoax or
and
not.
she's making these things up. And it's very, very.
Turkey, I really like your
damaging
streams. You're
and
entertaining and informative. Keep up the good work.
testimony will be
Thank
that
you.
these
I
Depp
appreciate
things
everybody that's
they
still
can
here.
run
We've
with these
gained
things.
one viewer
And
in the
you
past
hear
few
from an
minutes.
expert
Whoever
who
you are,
talks
thanks
about
for joining.
computer-wise, when you search the hoax,
I'll do
you
this.
see
This
that
is
it
fun. I'm going to keep this
spreads
up.
out
And
into
thank you
the
for those of
internet
you that put up
and
with my
social
shit.
and generates a lot of negative publicity for Amber.
Elaine may suck at being a lawyer, but she's got a promising career waiting for her in politics.
This was made in April of 2020. Depp's lawyer, Adam Waldman, said
Possibly.
various discrepancies prove that nothing Heard and her friends said about the events of May 21, 2016 could be considered credible. Quite simply, this was an ambush, a hoax. They set Mr. Depp up by calling the cops, but the first attempt...
Welcome back, Nessie.
He told DailyMail.com. The officers came to the penthouses, thoroughly searched and interviewed, and left after seeing no damage to face or property. So Amber and her friends spilled a little wine, roughed the place up, and got their story straight under the direction
Before
of
the
lawyer and
next
publicist, and
two
then
police
placed a
officers
second
arrived.
Call to 911.
Yep.
Now, I've already told you all about the events of May 21, but you're also going to hear from the second set of officers. There's no way that Amber was trying with her friends to now get charges pressed against Johnny.
The
They
officers
cleaned
never
everything
said
up. They
that.
didn't want him in there. The absolute opposite of what he says there. The
Bullshit.
third statement, if you may. Depp's attorney, Adam Waldman, said, when Amanda Day Cadenet, that's a friend of Amber's, Amber Heard's best friend and Me Too activist, recants her support for Ms. Heard and testifies against her, you know we have reached the beginning of the end of Ms. Heard's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp. Amanda Day Cadenet never testified against her, but that's not the part that we're claiming of the defamation. It's abuse hoax against Johnny Depp. In other words, in all of these
Elon Musk and
articles,
other
he said
various
she
celebrities have
created
decided not
abuse
to
hoax.
not to
You're
testify for Amber
determinations
too, but
of
she
whether
doesn't
that's
mention
true
that.
or not. But what we're going to show you is that not only was tremendously damaging to Amber emotionally, and you're going to hear from an expert on domestic violence and intimate partner violence, IPV, about how those triggers happen when you have somebody who's gone through all of this and she's trying to heal and she's
Is she
trying to
talking
get past
about
this, and then
Dr.
bam,
Huge
you
Liar?
come in there and you inflict this and put this out in the public, and
If
everybody
so,
runs
she
it. There's
didn't. I
over
don't
a
think
million,
she
we're going to tell you about a
testified to
million
that.
different searches on the Twitter from these different
On
hits.
the Twitter,
How
the
that affects
internets.
her emotionally every time somebody calls her a liar for what she went through and how hard she tried to protect Johnny Depp so that his children and the public never found out about that Johnny Depp and how much
His
that has
kids
harmed her
knew.
and how
His
much
kids
emotionally
aren't
it
fucking
impacted
idiots.
her
They
and
know
be
what's
triggered
going
and
on.
triggered. But we're also
And
gonna talk
they
to you about
support their
the
father in this, by
reputational
the way.
damages for that. Amber made it through the divorce. Then she got cast in Aquaman. A few of you saw that.
Hopefully
That was a
that
blockbuster.
she's
It
out
was
about it.
the
I hope she
highest
gets
grossing
booted
movie
from
in
Aquaman
DC
too.
films history ever up to this point. It hit over $1 billion.
Was
in a
it? Was
very short period
Aquaman
of
the
time.
highest
It was
box
a
office
mega
draw
hit.
of the
She
Marvel
was
universe at
moving
that
forward.
point? Really?
Then she
It was the
gets
DC
hit
universe.
with these defamatory statements and
Just
all
saying.
of the Depp followings and the computer and Twitter and everything else. Nobody wants to touch her. Well, and you're going to hear from an
Yeah, I
expert
hope
who's
nobody
gonna
ever wants
say,
to touch her
look
again.
at Jason Momoa, look at Gal Gadot, look at other people who started coming up in those tracks from she was Justice League and then Aquaman. Look what they're getting. They're getting commercials. They're getting all kinds of different film opportunities. These are the things. that
Okay, to
she's
quote
nobody will touch her.
to equate Gal
We're
Gadot
gonna
and
ask
Jason
you,
Momoa to
as
Amber
Ben said,
Heard is a bit
to hold
of
Mr.
a
Depp
fucking
responsible.
stretch.
Enough is enough. But we're also going to ask you to hold him responsible and try to fully and fairly compensate Amber for what he has done to her.
Yeah, this is their justification for her claim
Ms.
for
Brown.
$100 million.
Based on the time,
All
ladies and gentlemen,
right.
I think I'm going to release you for lunch a little early so we can just start.
That's the end of the opening statements. So in the past few days, we've gone through. Oh, God damn it! I hate these earbuds. Okay, I bet you're all wondering what the shit's going on at this point. We'll get into this later. All right. Okay, sorry about that little audio influx there. All right. Wow, that was pretty wild, wasn't it? Fuck me. Yeah, this has been a pretty wild ride. And as we can see what Amber Heard is going through here, it's not been the most flattering of things. And I mean, what do you guys think? Has she met her burden of proof? Has she done what she needs to do? Has she qualified through her lawyers to meet her burden of proof in regard to these things? I don't think she has. I really don't think she has. But please let me know what you think. I mean, the stuff that we've gone through is the stuff that we've gone through. We've gone through Johnny Depp stuff through his opening statements. We've revisited Amber Heard's opening statement. And, I think his lawyers have done a good job of beating the burden of proof that they've talked about. I don't think she's done a good job of meeting her burden of proof, what they've talked about. What do you think? Nessie says, I think she's fucked. I probably tend to agree with what you said. This is a hoax. She's not shown one photo of what she's claiming. I completely agree with you in this thing. I mean, I just don't think they've done it. But please tell me what you think. It just it makes no sense to me. All right, let's look at some of these. I don't think she's not only failed to meet the burden of proof by inserting an unnecessary, unbelievable whack job set of claims that should nuke her credibility completely. I agree with you, Max Murray, here. And it's a thing you see a lot in criminal trials. I uploaded a video yesterday of lawyers. I kind of want to start this series whenever I have some time to do lawyers that I'm impressed with, lawyers that I respect, lawyers that I think are legends in their own time. I uploaded one yesterday, about 12 hours ago, actually, I guess, 14 hours ago, about Jerry Spence, a lawyer for the people, a lawyer who I truly respect, who had amazing oratory skills. And another lawyer that I'll be talking about in the future is Barry Scheck, who, is just an epic lawyer. And a lot of Barry Scheck was a lawyer in the O.J. Simpson trial, way back in the day when I was in law school in '97, I think it was, 96, 95, somewhere around there. I can't even remember. But the thing that they brought out in the O.J. Simpson trial is something I think is here is like, if you have someone pinned, if you have someone that's guilty, if you have someone that's liable in a civil proceeding, leave it at that. When you try to expand on it, when you try to increase the evidence against them, it discredits all of the base evidence you already have. If you have the basic facts and you want to conflate it, you want to make it more than it is, by adding this additional testimony, these additional details, the additional bullshit, the lies, you devalue your core basis of evidence. When you try to make the story too good, it fails. Matt Barker, welcome. Great. Thank you for the comment. I think she'll win in the eyes of the law and lose in the eyes of the public. I probably agree with you. In Virginia, they have 7 lawyers on this trial. They have 7 jurors on this trial. And the verdict has to be unanimous. All 7 people have to agree that what she said was false and defamatory and libelous. And they have to agree on that to get the verdict in Johnny's favor. It just takes one person to think that she was an actual victim of SV or AD or AV, DV to sink his case. So I don't think he's going to win this ultimately. That's my feeling right now. It just takes one juror not to believe him. So I think the chances are he's probably going to lose this lawsuit. But I think he did this solely for the purpose of getting his story out, getting his arguments out in a controlled environment where it's the lawyers presenting the evidence rather than him as, the white privileged actor. That's what I think I think he just wants to use this trial to get his particular views out. Johnny will testify a public backlash and her career will die and Johnny's will take off. I think that's what's going to happen. I hope that's what's going to happen. Brandon says Fairfax, Virginia hung jury. That, I believe, is probably going to be the likely outcome. If I was one of the 2 or 4 Asian jurors and she was blowing me between breaks, I still wouldn't believe her. I'm just going to leave that right there. I really like Jerry. Nessie Gardner, yeah, Jerry Spence. I mean, he has been my idol since I was a child. Jerry Spence is a master orator. I said the three lawyers that I really want to highlight in the series that I'll do going forward about lawyers that inspired me, that I respect. Jerry Spence. Go watch that video, the TED Talks that I linked to there. It's, even if I ever get monetization, that won't be considered a monetized video because it includes a TED Talks video. But he was a master orator. Jerry Spence was a lawyer who, as a prosecutor and a defense lawyer, never lost a single case. And he hasn't lost a civil case since 1969. He's an epic lawyer. Barry Scheck. We'll talk about Barry Scheck, the lawyer for O.J. Simpson. He started the Innocence Project, where they devote their time and efforts to getting people on death row who were unjustly and improperly convicted of crimes off of death row and getting them acquitted. He did one of the most epic, historically epic cross-examinations of all time during the O.J. Simpson trial. God damn it. That's part of the video there, the audio you just heard. Adjusting my earphones, I accidentally clicked start. But Barry Scheck cross-examined a Los Angeles Police Department criminologist, Dennis Fung. His cross-examination was 8 days on the stand. He cross-examined him for 8 days. And for me, I was a law student when the O.J. Simpson trial was happening. And I skipped weeks of law school to watch this trial at home, the O.J. Simpson trial at home. And Barry Scheck dismantled the CSI guy from Los Angeles, basically, over 8 days of cross-examination in the most textbook awesome cross-examination of a witness I have ever that I've ever seen and ever heard of. And it's amongst lawyers and legal scholars and experts, that cross-examination, which I'm going to try to get into, is widely recognized as one of the greatest cross-examinations in history. Max Murray, Jerry Spence. Jerry Spence, he's just like my hero. I'm from Utah, which is next to Wyoming. It's about 4 hours from Jackson Hole, where Jerry Spence practiced. He's 93 years old, and he's still involved in a lawsuit now. It's amazing. He's an amazing storyteller, an amazing orator. And as I said in this video I put out last night, I think a lot of the lawyers have lost their passion for lawyering. They've lost a lot of passion for advocacy. They've lost a lot of the motivation and the drive to fight for their client. A lot of times lawyers just go through the motions, which, as good or bad as the lawyers in this case are doing, there's no passion. There's none of this active, passionate advocacy for their client. And Jerry Spence is a master storyteller. Please go back and check this video that I released yesterday. Amazing. Sunny Farm Girl. Hey, Sunny Farm Girl. Technically, we'll rule in Amber's way. God damn it. I'm going to have to close this fucking window. All right, there we go. I keep getting, like the videos I've loaded to talk about Barry Scheck keep coming up every time I readjust my earphones. Lol, I was 18 during OJ trial. I was in my mid-early 20s, so yeah. I was still young. I was in law school during that time, and I watched every minute of that trial. Watch this. Dang, I can't clip that. Real Stu K, go to my about section, click on my my email address and send that to me. I wonder what that is. I know it's bad to post links, but that's really funny. I don't know what it is. I will watch it if I can get it. I probably need to reactivate my Twitter account so you guys can send me real-time links and things like that. Matt Barker says, "Yeah, agree. It only takes one dumb jury member." Well, that's I've mentioned that a couple of times. My tort professor, he referred to juries as 12 ignorant slobs. These are just normal citizen schlubs that know nothing about the law, know nothing. But you have to convince the ignorant people of your case. Nessie Gardner, they don't have to order 100 million right then. No, it's possible that both will. The way I see it, there's three outcomes. Johnny Depp wins, and then he gets whatever damages that are assessed to him. Johnny Depp loses, Amber Heard wins and gets whatever damages they award to her. Or they could possibly both lose. They could say, okay, Johnny Depp, we find that Johnny Depp did this, so therefore it wasn't a lie. So he loses his case, but also Amber Heard does not fulfill the burden of proof for her damage claim. So they could both lose, or one could win or the other could win. Maxmer, Dennis Fung, that's what I want to get. His cross-examination of the criminals, Dennis Fung, was, it is epic. It is an absolute masterpiece of lawyering, and it's incredibly hard to clip. I've been suffering for 2 or 3 days trying to figure out how to clip parts of Barry Scheck's cross-examination of the criminologist Dennis Fung, because he does these lengthy questions where he leads him down this path for multiple questions, and then just snaps the trap on him and catches him in a lie and fucking destroys him. Barry Scheck's cross-examination of Dennis Fung is literally, amongst lawyers and legal scholars, one of the best cross-examinations that's ever been recorded in the history of law. Nessie Gardner says, I know, but by some Amica-induced miracle happens and she wins, she could easily say $5 is all you get. Yeah, that's true. Like I was saying earlier, that's not an uncommon verdict to say, okay, yes, you're reliable, your award is $1. You didn't prove it, but we know you were damaged, so we'll give you a $1 damage. The real Stu 4K says, but to be honest, she going to go to jail, well, house arrest. Yeah, if he wins, and if they can say that she perjured herself or lied under oath, then there's the technical possibility that she could be charged with perjury. But unfortunately, as I and other law tubers have said, perjury by witnesses is the most under-prosecuted crime out there in the universe. It's just not worth the time. It's just not worth the payback. I started this thing over 3 hours ago, and I just expected to do this for the hour, power through these comments, but you power through the opening statements and end it. But you guys have been amazing in this chat. I really appreciate your support. Like I said, I'm new to this whole LawTube thing. I'm having just an absolute huge amount of fun doing this, and I appreciate your support. And I'm just honored that currently 10 of you would be giving me any of your time after 3 hours and 7 minutes of doing this. It's just fun. I enjoy it. I'm going to keep doing it because I've got a lot to say, and that's kind of how I got involved in this thing. I was talking to Andrew, texting back and forth, and when we'd get together in person and talk about these things, he's like, well, you really need to do this. I'm like, I'm just spouting shit. I just have my opinions for what they're worth, and I just kind of spew them out. And if you like them, great. So I finally just said, okay, fine. I got the setup. I set myself up, and I'm here. I'm just here to have fun, to give my comments, groundless that they may be, whether you agree or disagree. It's just me. At this point in my life, I got nothing else better to do. I don't, I'm not sensitive. I don't really care what people think about my opinions. I'm just putting them out there for you to digest. And the fact that you're here listening to me ramble on is amazing to me. And I appreciate all of your support. I appreciate your likes. I appreciate your subscriptions. And I'm going to keep doing this. Nessie says it's been a blast. It's a huge blast for me too. I just enjoy it. I resisted doing this thing. I had a YouTube channel from about 2006 when I was a president of a motorcycle club here in Korea. And I would, if you go back into my videos, you'll see these things from 14, 15 years ago. My motorcycle rides through Korea when I was the president of the motorcycle club. When I videoed a lot of things when I was in my motorcycle accident and broke my leg. And, you know, just shit like that. And my account was dormant for probably 15 years. And then Andrew kind of urged me to reactivate it and get going again. So I've totally revamped. And now I'm doing this LawTube thing. And, you know, the other big LawTubers, you know, Nick and Alita and Nate and Joe and Kurt, all these other great LawTubers that have this thing down. I don't know if I'm polished enough to be part of their live streams yet, but I mean, if they asked, there is no way I would say no. I would love to go on there and express my opinions. So if any of you have like any major sway over them, or can get kind of some comments in there and suggest me, hey, I would love it. I'm working on Andrew getting me introduced into the law sphere, the law tubes. I think it would be fun. Matt Barker, thank you for your comment. It's been fun, mate. Love your super interesting guy. Yeah, I think I'm pretty interesting. Whether other people think I'm interesting or not, I don't know. I don't care. I'm just doing it. I'm giving my opinions. And like I said, my about video, it's uncensored opinions. It's just what I'm thinking. And I'm having a bunch of fun doing it. And I appreciate all of the support you guys are giving me. Matt Barker says, only wish I saw the fat babies in the background. I've shut my doors so they can't get in, because last time I was rewatching the last live stream I did, and you can just hear I have 2 English bulldogs, for those of you who don't know, and you can just hear in the background, and it was kind of distracting. Karen Benner Cohen says, it's really interesting to hear what you have to say. A big hug from Israel. Thank you. I appreciate it, Karen. That's awesome for you to say that. Thank you for your support. Nessie, it's all about different points of view and how you do things, right? Yeah. And I mean, that's the thing about like us YouTubers. Nothing we say is legal advice in any way, shape, or form. We're just people who have experience in this sphere of the universe. Our experiences, our thoughts, based upon our own experiences. It's not that we're better than anybody else. It's just, this is kind of our bailiwick. This is our wheelhouse. This is what we do. So we kind of know how to view things. And it's not, if anybody takes legal advice from me or anybody else on YouTube, that's a non-starter. That it's a non-issue. We're just giving our opinions, and it's great. And I would never deign to speak for other people on YouTube, but I appreciate the fact that you're all here and you all listen to this. We've been doing this for 3 hours and 11 minutes and 42 seconds as of now. It's 2:17 in a beautiful, beautiful sunny afternoon here in Korea. And I need to take the dogs out for a walk. And I put down an entire pitcher of margaritas at this point. And I've got to go out drinking later tonight. So, okay, I already read that one. And we've got the Real Stu 4K says, sometimes we just need simple lawyer questions answered for people who can't pay the dollars to just talk to a lawyer for interesting questions. And if you do have any actual legal questions, please consult with a lawyer in your jurisdiction. We just kind of give general comments about general principles of law and generally how we see things. But this is a great forum. I never even contemplated that anyone have the least bit of interest in what I have to say about the law. I mean, here in Korea, I practice mainly shipping law and admiralty law and ship collisions and cargo damage. And I mean, I work on these huge tens of millions of dollar cases where ships will explode. We're working on a great ship explosion case now. Cases where 2 ships will collide and one ship will be on fire for months and another ship will sink, or where a gigantic 100,000-ton ship will plow over the top of a little 50-ton shipping boat. That's what I do. I'm involved in ship collisions, and probably 70% of what I do is that, and the other 30% is commercial law. I haven't done We do very, very minor points of criminal law, white collar crimes and things like that. So I haven't been an actual practicing lawyer in America. I've done my time and my internship in law school at the public defender's office in Salt Lake City. And that was kind of the last time I've ever actually been involved in an actual legal case in the States. But the principles of law stick with you, and they're multi-jurisdictional. People in different states and different countries, we basically rely on the same principles of law that are common to all jurisdictions. And we give our opinions. And this is, we just got to that one. Real Stu 4K. Sometimes you just need a simple lawyer. We got to that one. And last one, Chuck Norris been around. Oh, damn it. There was my earphones again. All right. So I'll let you all go. I could sit here forever because I literally have nothing to do. It's the weekend. It's Saturday. And I know like a lot of you were in other time zones where it's the middle of the freaking night. And I appreciate the 11 of you that are here now. And we'll get something up. We'll do another live stream really, really soon because I have a lot of fun talking to you. I have a lot of fun just rambling because as lawyers, we are trained to just talk. And I enjoy that. Sandy McPartland, thank you very much for your comment. It's always fun with you. Cheers. The real Stu 4. I may have had a lot of margaritas at this point. The real Stu 4K. Google not easy on some terminology without a lawyer explaining. Yeah, there's a lot of legal terms of art that need explaining. And now Alita over at Legal Bytes is doing a great series of what does hearsay mean? What, things like that. What is cross-examination? What does, relevancy? She's doing this series now, which I highly recommend you go check out. I mean, she's the goat on the Amber Heard trial. She's really skyrocketed to this, and she's leaning into it, and she's doing a lot of things. And if through some act of fate I ever become involved in the greater law tube sphere, that would be awesome. I would love to do it. But there's a lot of other people. Go check out Andrew over at Legal Mindset, Alita over at Legal Bytes, Kurt on civil law, like Joe and I mean, all the other people. They're way more polished at this than I am. I'm still at the stage where I'm just rambling and clicking buttons, but I appreciate you being here for the ride. If you haven't liked and subscribed, do it just for the fun of it. It costs you nothing, and it makes me feel good. Gives me the warm fuzzies to see you subscribed. And I'll probably be back in the next day or so. Depends on what happens tonight. I plan on drinking quite a bit tonight with some of my close friends. We'll be there, and Andrew has invited me to be part of his. That's the advantage we have being here in Korea, is our daytime is America's nighttime. So the trial here, like Korea time, starts at about 11 p.m. Korea time. So we have this whole block of time before the trial starts to do pre-trial stuff and pre-trial comments. And I'm honored that Andrew over at Legal Mindsets invited me back on Tuesday night to do our Tuesday night, which would be the Tuesday morning for those of you that are in the States, to do a pre-trial, the pre-hearing comment section. I'll be there on Andrew's channel on Tuesday night, possibly Wednesday if I haven't fucked up and he wants me back. But until then, so I may be able to do something tomorrow. I don't know, but I'll put out an announcement. I'll let you know, and I'll release whatever I have. Thank you for being here. You guys are awesome. Like, subscribe, comment. I try to answer every comment. I'm not such a big shot now that I can't answer all of the comments. I'll respond to every comment I can for as long as I can. Until then, take care, guys. Enjoy your afternoon, your morning, your evening, wherever you're at. I love you, and I appreciate you being here for me. And if you weren't here, there's no point in me being here. So peace out. Legal Vices saying good night. Take care. Love you all, and we'll catch you next time. Have a great